Good evening, fellas.
Hello.
How we doing?
Hi there.
Be as
Good
up.
evening all. How are we, boys? Okay?
Super.
Yeah.
How's
Not
everyone?
bad.
How's everyone's week of Thrash been? Yeah, great.
Awesome.
It's been a
Good,
nice trip down memory lane. How interesting has it been to actually listen to all these albums back to back?
Really good. Really enjoyed it. Some interesting surprises have come to light.
Hello, Dan. I mean, I think we'll have to point out first to everyone who's going to be watching this that we're going to be speaking about a lot of albums, a lot of debuts. Some are obviously not going to make the top 5. Some we are going to tear down, but it doesn't mean we don't like them. But we do have to be kind of critical of some of these albums, don't we?
Most of them.
Well, yeah, most of them. I mean, because there could be over, 25 albums we're going to talk about?
Yeah,
so
probably.
If everyone's going to be bitching about what's not and what is in the top 5, then it could be a very long night.
Which it probably will be anyway, even if we don't pitch. So
well, that's true.
It's all good. It's all good.
Jürgen. Trev. Wow, they're all here. Excellent. So I have to say, guys, it's quite impressive there that between the 4 of us, we've all got the big 4 shirts on. That's like.
What are the chances of that happening, eh?
I know. What is the chances of that happening? Good old Prime. Fantastic. But it's been a good week this week, kind of going through, sort of rekindling, and sort of what's the word I'm looking for? Just reminiscing and getting those albums. You're like, because we're talking about classic Thrash albums. You've not listened to me. Those albums that they're so classic in your mind that you just don't play them like you used to. You know, you're constantly buying new music, so obviously that's what you're listening to. So it's been so nice to sort of listen to albums that, like I say, they're just sort of, you've always imagined them in your head because you hear them so much. I found it quite interesting. I found it more interesting because I had some albums in my head that I thought were just awesome. And then you play all these other albums around it, and it just gets dropped to the bottom of the pile. Yeah. So it's these kind of albums that, say you were just putting on as a one-off. You're in the car going somewhere, and you put it on, and you think this is awesome. But then you're sitting in the house, you're playing one after the other, and the same album. Maybe the next day, it's just like fucking hell. I didn't think. It just was quite disappointing. So, but then again, others really got bumped up, so it's going to be
what sort of process did you go through, you lot? See, for me, how I sort of got the cream of the crop into my head, I sat in this chair and I cranked these albums loud, and if I didn't find myself air drumming and really just losing my shit like a teenager again, I kind of knew that there's no way it could be a top 5 album for me if it didn't make me feel like that.
What
did you lot do? What?
I just listened to them, to be honest with you. What I found though is that quite a few of these albums I've not listened to for ages because they're not my go-to album for that band. They're not my favorite album by that band. But when I listened to them, I thought, actually, from a debut album, really good. There's some really good stuff, and the stuff that I even forgotten about it. Songs that maybe I didn't even necessarily like before, but hearing them again and really kind of spending time listening to them. It was great.
I mean, for me, it was more like sometimes when you put an album on, if you put one of the albums on, you're doing something. So you're maybe like, doing something around the house, or you're driving and you've got other things on your mind. So it's kind of background music. But what I did with this is I would get in from work, I'd get a shower, and I'd sit down, put one on, and just listen to it. I didn't do anything. I wasn't on my phone. In fact, all I had was my phone, and I was making notes. And I was just literally just sitting there listening to it. Nothing in the background, nothing interrupting me.
just sitting there making notes, and it's honestly been a really interesting exercise because you pick up loads of different things, whether they're good or bad about an album. And like I said, albums have just been going like this all week.
Yeah.
So
I try to do that, but I don't always get the time with kids and family around. So sometimes I play half an album, and then, especially the records, then I would come back like 2 hours later, or if I was working from home, what have you, had a load of stuff to do, would come back and play the other half later on. So it's different per album, but it's been doing my best to listen and even make notes as I go along. So that's also what I normally do when I just sit down listening to albums, is making some notes as I go along. Especially for tonight, because I'd never remember names of songs and things.
that's like me. I had to actually write down the album name, and I had to write down my favourite tracks off the album, because I'm rubbish with album names, because I don't normally sit with the album cover and go, oh yeah, that's amazing.
Well, I used to as a kid. Now I used to know the name of every song on every album.
Yeah.
Now I just don't.
It's kind of like. Go on, what?
I was going to say, maybe I should leave now because I've made no notes at all.
You don't need notes. You're a walking note.
I'm just going off what I remember about them. Simple as that. So let's see how that one goes.
Right. Well, I'm going to quickly grab a beer because I drank my first one far too fast.
All right. So while he's gone, right. So we have got. What we're going to plan on doing is how we're going to work out our top 5 is we're all going to just kind of showcase an album, and we've not worked this out in advance. We don't know which ones people are going to show. So we've probably all picked a lot that are going to overlap, but we'll all have our say as we go along about what we think of the album. And the first 5 albums are all going to go straight into the initial top 5 that we've got here. No expense spared on the graphics for this episode tonight.
No, Andy, what you're supposed to say is it's the kind of leaderboard of an 80s arcade game.
That as well.
A lot of these albums are 80s albums, aren't they?
Yeah. So that is the scoreboard theme.
So once we have 5 in here, the next album that we talk about, we're going to have to decide whether that album is better than the previous 5, and we're going to have to vote one off and bring it on if we think it is. So what should happen is when we've been through all our albums at the end of the night, we should have 5 albums in here that we all pretty much agree between us are top 5. It's not necessarily going to be our individual top 5s because we're trying to do this as a group. And then when we have 5 on here, at the very end, we'll rank those 5, and that will be the definitive top 5 thrash debut albums of all time. And if you don't agree, then you're just going to have to change and adapt this one going forward, because this is what we're going to do here today. We're going to answer that age-old question once and for all. Or don't get too upset. Some people are going to get upset. Some people are going to be overjoyed. But
don't get upset.
It should be a laugh. Oh, people do that, don't they? People are so emotionally attached to albums and music that if your one doesn't come out top, then I don't know.
Well, tough shit.
The thing is, these people who are emotionally attached need to have listened again and look at things with a fresh set of ears, because there were some albums here that I nearly didn't play, thinking I know like that like the back of my hand, and then when I did force myself to play them, I felt a bit different about them, both good and bad.
Let's kick this fucker off then.
And also important, all you guys watching, let us know what your opinions are. Get involved.
Yeah, if we have a split opinion about whether something should get voted in or voted out, then we're going to be looking for you guys for a little bit of help as well. So make sure you pay attention.
And that help doesn't mean, it's just killer. That doesn't help anyone. we need some reasons for and against, because that's what we've been. Well, 3 of us have been thinking like that all week. Mark's just going to wing it last minute by the sound of it.
I have been doing my homework. Don't worry about that. I've been listening to them all, but it's I definitely struggle to separate my emotional attachment to albums. But that's what music's about, isn't it? It's about what emotion it evokes in you. It's not just about listening to an album because technically it's that proficient.
Yeah, of course.
Doesn't matter about that for me. Yeah, we'll see how it goes, guys. Do you want me to start? Shall I show you?
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah.
Come on.
Now then. Game over. Nuclear Assault. Now, the age I am, this wasn't the first album that I listened to by Nuclear Assault. My introduction to Nuclear Assault was the EP that followed this, The Plague. So going back to this album, I enjoy this. I like it. It's got, I think Dan Lilker's bass sound on this album is almost like the sort of print for thrash metal bass guitar sound. He's got that real bouncy, and I've always loved that. I've always enjoyed it about it. But what I always find about this album is it's not an album that I want to play all the way through. I find Hang the Pope, songs like that. I think when I was younger, I enjoyed them. I like that novelty sound side of it, but now that I'm the age I am, it doesn't quite have the same effect for me. And I would always go, if I was going to listen to a Nuclear Assault out of these, so I would listen to The Plague. Now, again, don't get me wrong, I'm not slagging this album off. No, that's not what we're getting into. But the last track, Brain Death, that's a awesome thrash song. John Connolly's voice sounds great on it. Musicianship wise, you can see that they all know what they're doing. And Dan Lilker, going on from Anthrax onto this. It's that thing, because The Plague and Survive were the Nuclear Assault albums that I fell in love with first. This one always, it's got a slight, they're from New York, so it's got a slight sort of New York hardcore, punky sort of vibe to it. And that's not a big part of thrash that I'm into. I don't like it with too much. I quite like the crossover side of things, but when it's got that punky element to it, it's not always for me. And I put that down to just the generation I was when I got into thrash. You're looking at Master of Puppets and these awesomely produced albums. So I enjoy this. I really like it. But listening back to it compared to what I did all them years ago, it just didn't quite do it for me as much as I thought it was going to be honest. But I have to say, the last track, Brain Death, as Pete said there, that is a great tune. There you go, guys.
I couldn't have put that better myself. This is one of these albums that, in my mind, I thought, right, I'm in for a treat here. But it was completely swallowed up by all the other albums before and after. I've listened to a few albums. I'd listened to probably about 3 albums a night, and this would be one, obviously, that I'd go through. And I was left a bit kind of empty with it. I totally agree with your Danny Lilker comment. I think he really stands out in it. There are some like redeeming features. Like, I think sometimes what did I put here? They simplify one thing down to maybe enhance the other, so it's not overly busy. It's not like a frantic mess. So they're obviously they did kind of compose the songs quite like intentionally, but once I got to the end, like you said with like Hang the Pope, I was just like, like next, and that was one that really fell for me. So I think it just kind of got swallowed up by the rest that I was listening to, because the rest, I'm not saying they were all amazing, but compared to some other stuff, I just thought, it's good, but it's not going to be up there.
Yeah, for me, it was a breath of fresh air listening to this one again. I haven't heard it in ages, but if I summarize it, I think it would be a great EP. And you mentioned things like Hang the Pope, Mark, My America, even on the vinyl version, I completely forgotten the Mr. Softy theme and listed track at the end, which is kind of why? But I think Stranded in Hell, Brain Death, Betrayal, and Nuclear War would make a fantastic 4-track EP, and I'd love that. Brain Death is my intro to Nuclear Assault. I've got the 12-inch of that, and I played that to death back in the day. I mean, it's about what 8-9 minutes long, something ridiculous like that, and it's just slow and fast, and it's got cannibalism in it as well. So it's like it's very, very thrash metal in terms of its theme. But I find some bits of it really catchy, really cool. But I say it's broken up too much by the jokey element of the song, almost like the SOD element of Dan Lilker coming through.
Yeah.
But,
to be honest, when I listen to it, those Hang the Pope and My America and stuff, I haven't played it a great deal in the last few years, and them daft songs made me smile and took me right back to my youth, and a bit like you were saying, Mark, where you're really sort of connected to an album emotionally and all the rest of it. It just made me smile and remember sort of my early days of getting into thrash and stuff. That wasn't my first album by them either. I got Survive first, but John Connolly's vocals are quite distinctive compared to some others, and it's basic instrumentation and stuff, but I think it works well. I enjoyed it. I think I enjoyed it about as much as I've always enjoyed it. I've never felt like it was the absolute top level, but certainly I would include it in towards the top. And I've always thought that about it. I didn't actually feel any different about that album when I played it this week.
Yeah, I just
kind of like
again.
It's like a blueprint album, I think, like that and The Plague. You can songs like Brain Death, they kind of brought songs in a bit more like that later on. They lost that punky sort of element, didn't they? So I always think Game Over. It sounds to me like a bunch of young lads writing an album and getting it out there, but it's not fully realised, which very rarely a debut album is. Occasionally, though, you get those, which we'll be, I'm sure, touching on.
We'll get to them.
Those debut albums that, it's not a mind blow. It's good. And again, everyone who's watching, please don't think any of these are in my collection. So I'm not slagging them off. I love them. But we're trying to get into the meat and veg of these albums, aren't we, guys?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's easy to sit and say this album's good or this album is killer.
They're all good.
Yeah, these are pretty much all good, but you really have to, if you're not going to include it in the top 5, you've got to give a reason, and that's you've got to be critical of these albums. And it doesn't matter how you feel about an album. There's still going to be things you can pick out that you don't like. So
yeah.
We move on. That's if we spend 8 minutes per album, we are going to be here.
Right. Okay. Moving on.
I banged on a bit. Sorry about that, boys.
That's all right.
Who's next?
I'll go.
Like I say, I've got my entire collection sat out on the floor here, so I'll go next if you want. I'll just keep going.
Oh. Kill them all. So this is another one that I was kind of late to. This is probably one of I think this was the last album of like the first 5 that I listened to. And I remember listening to it, and when I first heard it, I thought, this is awesome. I ranked it quite highly. Where the fuck is my camera? I ranked it quite highly in my Metallica ranking video as well. But this is one that really slid down for me. I was kind of, don't get me wrong, it's got these like awesome songs, like Hit the Lights, Four Horsemen, Jump in the Fire, No Remorse, Seek and Destroy, like awesome songs. But then you get to stuff like Pulling Teeth, and I'm just like, oh my god, this is torture. And the production wasn't as good as I thought it was. And you know how you've got these kind of these things in your head that before you put an album on, it's like even before you put a film on, you think about the film. This is what I was like with this, and then when I put it on, I was kind of left a bit kind of a bit empty with it. So it's like I say, I'm not destroying it, but if it was to come to the top 5, and I actually thought this would be my, not giving too much away, the top of my big 4 debuts, but it's now not after this exercise. So kill them all.
Well, I've got to be honest, Scott. I've got this as one of my 5s. This is what I wanted in one of my 5.
And go on. Sorry, Mike. Go on.
Well, I think we maybe needed. We missed doing that on nuclear assault, and I think that's because we all probably thought that was never going to get in our top 5. But when I was just wondering what we're going to do when something like what Scott's just shown there, that this was never in any doubt for my top 5. So what do we do in that instance? Do we what if
we put it in?
Well, we put it in, and then when we come to, so the first 5 albums we talk about are going to go. Yep.
Here we go.
In this list. So Metallica will go in this list. And then when we fill this list up, the 6th album we talk about, we've got to decide whether we think it's better than the ones we've talked about before. And then we can have a hard decision as to which one we're going to bump out if we want to bring it in.
Yeah. Each album's
It's in the list at the moment by virtue of being one of the first 5 to come out. But will it be there at the end? That's what we've got to talk about.
Well, with me, I mean, it's almost like a transitional album from a new wave of British heavy metal to thrash. And I only realised that decades later, because I just had it in my head as a young lad, as it's just a thrash album. That's what a thrash album is. But it's certainly based on Diamond Head and that type of thing. And it's sort of like the first thrash album, or certainly one of the first. And yeah, I mean, I know what you're saying about the pulling teeth thing, but I think they all looked up to Cliff Burton as youngsters, and I think they just wanted to showcase him. And it's almost not a thrash album, is what I will say, even though I do think it's a top 5 thrash album. It's almost not, because it's like a transitional album. But
I suppose this is like, it's the beginnings of thrash, isn't it? You know,
yeah.
It is. And do you know what? There's a few albums that we'll probably talk about that I've got the same opinion on, because, you know, we're talking the year, 85, 86.
Yeah.
Thrash was. It was
for me. I think Hetfield's vocals sound fantastic on this. I like everything about it. The raw, the raw production. I can't really fault it. And like I say, for me, it was a no-brainer as far as my top 5.
You get a shitload of support here, though, Mike. So it's all good.
We've got a lot of albums to go, though.
Yeah. So from my point of view, I think it's hard to actually look at this objectively, because it is considered the first thrash album, and it's, everybody knows it. It's not what, if you describe thrash, I don't think it necessarily is what it sounds like, because thrash evolved and changed. So this was 83, and 3 years later the standard sort of thrash metal sound sounded very different. Because I say that was a transition between like the new wave of British heavy metal, which Lars was really heavily influenced by. I mean, you look at is it the Four Horsemen? Halfway through, they kind of go off into a little Iron Maiden type solo.
Yeah,
through that song. I agree. Pulling teeth, is like pulling teeth. It's in fact, it's not called pulling teeth, is it? Is it?
Anesthesia.
Anesthesia, yeah. Sorry. But it's got some things like Whiplash, absolutely fantastic stuff. Full on thrash attack. Love the chorus. Seek and Destroy, can't fault it. Metal Militia. I'm kind of on the fence. It's not. I didn't know whether this was going to be in my top 5 or not, but it's damn close if it isn't. I would find it very, very hard maybe to vote this one off compared to others, I have to say. So this one is really going to be difficult for me because I wanted to love it. I played it again. It just didn't live up to that the expectations that I put upon it.
I fucking love this album. Absolutely love it. It's that intro to Seek and Destroy. Bum, bum, you know, it's just utterly classic. There's not many bands that you can sing along to the riff even before, you know, songs come. Just if you can sing to the riff, you know, it's fabulous. And Anesthesia, Pulling Teeth, I'm having none of it, boys. Listen, this again, I'm going to get emotional side of it now. When we were thinking about forming a band, me and my friends, at the beginnings of Enchantment, we met Mark, who turned out to be our bass player. And I think at the time he was maybe 14, maybe 15. We were all 17, 18. And we asked him, you know, he said, I played the bass. You know, we said, oh, you know, we'll see what can you play? And he played Anesthesia, Pulling Teeth from start to finish. And we were all just like, wow. He's in the band, simple as that. If he can play that all the way through at 14, he's in the band. So it's got that emotional attachment to me. Master of Puppets was the first Metallica album I heard. So I heard live versions of Seek and Destroy and Whiplash and that. So going back to this, initially when I first heard it, you know, production-wise, compared to Master of Puppets, I was like, it sounds a bit shit compared. But when I just think of the songs, and we used to have a thing, me and my friends, any song we listened to that had a little break in it, automatically in that break, we would all just go, Whiplash! And it was like this thing that, you know, it just came in all the time. But yeah, I'm with Mike on this. That for me is always going to be in my top 5. I absolutely love it. Absolutely love it.
It's got a very good chance of staying there at the end. Then, if it's
sounds like it.
Got that strong a opinion, I would find it hard to when it really comes down to it. And again, part of that is emotional attachment.
Yeah.
So we shall see. But this
we better move on. Come on.
Yeah, this shouldn't just be about whether we think a riff is good. Emotional attachment is really important to me when it comes to ranking albums. Right.
Yeah, we definitely need to. We've only done 2 albums.
Yeah, we need to start muting Mark.
Well, don't worry. It's that'll cut out in a minute. Go ahead, Mark. You go. You go, Mark.
Who's going with it now?
That's Mike.
Oh, right.
Oh yeah, you've already been Mark.
I don't know what to go for out of, you know, I'm gonna
do it. Come on.
You know what? I don't want to say things and then them be forgotten in an hour's time and an album stay there that I don't want to stay there because you've forgotten what I said. So
I'm sure you'll remind us.
Yeah. Right.
Just go for it, Mike. Come on. Just go for it.
8 minutes for Mike to pick a fucking album.
Oh.
The ultra-violence. Right.
Hi, Andy.
I'm going to look at my notes here. What I've said here is, right, as a body of work for a gang of teenagers, right, if this was based on what can a gang of... In fact, Andy Gallion was only 12, I think, or something like that. For a gang of teenagers, this would be totally peerless. It would be number 1 all day without fail. I get that. It's their take on Rush's 2112. And it's just absolutely formidable. They get a great singer with their cousin who has no experience at all. The musicianship for a gang of teenagers is just beyond belief, right? But I can't help but think there's a lot of instrumental passages in this whole album, and there's a lot of riffs that get a lot of use when they don't necessarily progress the song on. They're just there. It feels like a very jammy, rehearsally type of a record to me. There's so many parts where it's just instrumental, and they'll do stuff to like that. You know, they'll play a riff and then they'll play the octave and then they'll play the even higher octave, and it's like, yeah, we know it sounds fun for a little bit, but you're still doing that. Move on to something else. There's some really ugly riffs that get back into some verses, like off Voracious Souls, that before it goes back into the verse. That's cumbersome as fuck. And I think the fault isn't with the kids. It was Davy Vane's fault, because as a producer, you're not just there to twiddle the knobs. He should have said, that's great, lads, but we need to trim the fat a bit, because if they'd have trimmed the fat off this album, it would have been fucking magnificent. But they were probably, because they were so young, what grown-up man wants to crush 12 and 14, 16-year-old kids' spirit who have got bucket loads of talent? It was never going to happen. So for an achievement for their age bracket, it's number one easy. But for just a debut album compared to other debut albums, it's too jammy, too rehearsal sounding, too instrumental. There's just too many long passages of music only for me, and that's kind of it. It's great. It would make my top. It would probably get in my top 10 at number 10, but I couldn't agree to it being at 5.
I think you're on fucking drugs.
I love it that much. I've got it twice.
I'm not getting my vinyl out because it's a pain in the arse. But yeah, I would put this at number 1 straight away over Game Over and Kill 'Em All. This is phenomenal. Even, I mean, I'm not like you say, Mike. I'm not a massive fan of these like hugely long-winded musical passages, but like the ultra violence. I mean, I love that. How many? And it's not even about. Oh, well, of course, it's about how good the music is, but how influential to other bands is this album? To other people.
Oh yeah, I know.
It's fucking massive. So
there's other ones even more influential, and I wouldn't put them anywhere near either, because it's just I didn't go off that. I just went off how I kind of went off. Can I put that album on 3 times in a row, no matter what mood I'm in? Can I fuck? I wouldn't get through it once. Can I put Kill 'Em All on 3 times, no matter what mood I'm in? Definitely.
See, I would switch your opinion with Kill 'Em All with my opinion for this. I think this is fucking awesome.
And that's what makes tonight very interesting.
Yeah, and it just everything about it, even the cover's fucking brilliant. The logo's brilliant. The name of the album's brilliant. This for me is, I never ever get bored of listening to this. I completely agree with what Mike says. There's parts of this that it is like a bunch of young lads sort of developing the songs in a studio, you know, and there's jammy parts, but I like that it adds charm to it.
I think that's the magic of that.
Absolutely, so do I. And the third song, Voracious Souls, is, in my opinion, one of the greatest thrash songs ever. It's that rumble at the start, and this riff comes in, and it just leaves you sort of way up. What's going to happen next? When I first heard that, I was drawn in, and I was all over this band. And like I say, the cover art, the logo, it just drew me in. And Mike says, you know, if you actually look at it at the angle of these guys were kids, they were teenagers, you know, still at school teenagers when they wrote it, just phenomenal. that is just something else for a bunch of kids to write an album like that. Something completely bad. But for me, and I know we've only shown this third album now, but this is right up there with for me the best thrash debuts ever.
Yeah, I mean, if we're going to talk about Game Over and Kill 'Em All on the list so far, this tops them for me.
But where will we be at the end?
Does
anyone else notice that every time Ultraviolence by Death Angel is shown, Andy Gallion gets younger and younger? I reckon he was about 36 when he made this.
Yeah.
And now he's 12.
He's just like the
I think he was 12 though.
Yeah.
He just seems to get younger and younger. But
he was drumming out the vag.
And,
Womb with a View. Oh no, that's off that's off the third album.
Brilliant.
That is a voracious hole. Right.
I'm somewhere in the middle. I love parts of it. Other parts of it, I think do go maybe on a bit, maybe too much. I don't mind a thrash metal instrumental. I think thrash metal is the one metal genre where I don't mind instrumentals. Traditional heavy metal stuff, instrumentals are a bit boring, and thrash it kind of works. Probably because a lot of the songs tend to be really long anyway, and then they just have a small amount of lyrics in there, so you're used to listening just to a lot of the music. But it does have a little bit too much of that for me, so it wouldn't be a number one for me. I'd probably put it somewhere around. If I was fighting between this and Kill 'Em All at the end, I'm gonna have to do some serious thinking about which one I would put in. See which of you I'm going to upset the most when and if it comes to that. So we shall see.
Right, Andy.
Right, I'm going to go for one again. I don't think this one will make the top 5, but it's an album I really like, and I want to kind of get it in nice and early before we talk about all the others. But I'm going for some German thrash with Exuma, Possessed by Fire, and what I like
that says a lot.
is it's not your typical German thrash metal sound. Very influenced, I reckon, by the American style. So it's nothing like Creator, what have you. It's a bit more of an American sounding name to it. It's fast. It's sort of violent thrash without being brutal. I think every song on here is solid. Let's say not what I expect to be in the top 5. Almost call this an honorable mention by me, but by using it in the first 5, I'll get to see it on the list because I do really like it. I've got just about everything by them. They're still going strong today, but this was just a great, solid rhythm guitar sound all the way through. But nothing necessarily fantastically memorable with the solos. But yeah, fast, aggressive, exasperated vocals, which I do like a bit of in thrash metal. Not guttural, but throaty. But I thought I'd start off with some Exuma and ease myself in lightly.
I can comment pretty quickly on that. I've never heard that album. There's a few bands. Call myself a thrash fan. There's a few bands that have completely, and I don't know why, have just completely passed me by. Back in the day, especially Exuma, Assassin was another band.
Availability, I would think.
Yeah, maybe. I honestly cannot say anything more about it because I've never heard it. I've never heard a single album by Exuma. And again,
behind you, you ever got one Exuma album?
No, I know I haven't not got one.
I like it because it's not your typical German thrash sound. When you got when you put in the mix with Destruction and Sodom, it's almost that kind of blackened, harsh thrash, quite raw when they kicked off. But it has got that kind of American approach to it. But I'm not going to say too much because I've only heard it maybe once or twice. So I'm not going to say it's amazing. I'm not going to say it's terrible. But I do like how how they've kind of aimed it towards a different audience, and they've actually split themselves off from like the German big four that were doing something kind of different from what they really wanted to do. So would I put it in the top 5? Probably not, because it's not really one I even went back to during this.
I wouldn't either at the end of the day, but it's an album I really enjoy, and I would recommend people check it out.
Yeah. It's not one that I felt like I needed to revisit for this, but I think
I really enjoyed revisiting it. I hadn't listened to that album in about 4 years.
Yeah,
it was.
I think it's important.
I actually enjoyed listening to it.
Even if we're showing albums, it's important to show a lot, just for the people who are watching as well. You know, see what people's opinions are on them. Even if we're not going to put them in the top, even if they're not going to be in the top 20, it's good to show them, isn't it? You know,
we've got to go through them.
I've not heard that album either, to be quite honest. When I looked on Facebook and seen that you'd been listening to it, I put it on at work for 15 minutes or something, and I actually thought it was okay, but it was just blaring out of a phone, so it's not really the ideal conditions. But I thought it sounded okay, and I thought if that's a cheap pickup, I would probably buy that. But then when you look and you see it's like 14, 16 quid or something, and I just thought, oh, nah. You know, I've no idea about it. I couldn't name you one song.
Yeah. It was a cheap pickup for me because I got it about 5 or 6 years ago, but not so much now. Right, so that was the piss break.
Flotsam and Jetsam, Doomsday for the Deceiver. The only Flotsam and Jetsam album to feature Jason Newsted on bass before he was poached for Metallica, and I completely understand why Metallica poached him, because his performance on this is fabulous. What a top bass player. And to think that when he joined Metallica and he was, you know, and Justice for All came out and you couldn't hear the fucker at all, because his bass playing on this, for me, is quite reminiscent of Steve Harris. He's got that Steve Harris vibe going on. Now, we spoke earlier about thrash bands with that traditional heavy metal vibe running through it. This is another one. What year is this?
86.
86, yeah. Eric AK's voice, obviously because of the way he sounds, is very easy to sing along with that traditional style of heavy metal. But obviously these guys have thrashed it up a bit. Well, this has got everything. This is a fabulous debut. It's got riffs, it's got melody, it's got speed, it's got everything that you want in a thrash album. Some lovely, beautiful, beautiful moments. But the standout on this, besides Eric AK's voice, is Jason Newsted's bass playing. It's just fabulous, and it's the more I listen to this album, and then know that he went on to do And Justice for All, and you couldn't hear him. He's just such a travesty, really. But yeah, Flotsam and Jetsam, Doomsday for the Deceiver. Fabulous, fabulous album.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more with what you said about Jason Newsted. I actually wrote here aggressive with pounding bass. I mean, I just says it all. And like you say, like Metallica would have just been rubbing their hands together when they got him in the band. It just shows a lot of like instrumental proficiency as well. It's just it's a very easy listen. It's one of those albums I kind of thought when I looked at my notes, the ones I didn't enjoy the most, I had loads of notes for, and the ones I really liked, I just didn't care. I just sat back and just fucking enjoyed it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Sign of a good album, that, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, I felt I actually wrote on my notes, right? This is a sentence I wrote. I'm going to be nitpicking. So, yeah. I mean, I said Eric AK could maybe, because the music comes across quite aggressive, and Eric AK's got that kind of more traditional metal voice, he could maybe like punch in those snarls or, you know, add a bit of something to his voice. But I mean, it doesn't really take away from the album. That's just kind of my my opinion. But phenomenal songwriting, and I literally just wrote, sat and enjoyed.
Yeah,
because it's awesome.
Well, I didn't have a lot of notes for it either, and what my notes were it's an absolutely fantastic, great, solid album with awesome vocals, but I'm not really convinced it's a thrash album. To me, it says speed metal. Now, I might be splitting hairs with speed metal and thrash metal, but there's some bands that I just think are speed metal, and Flotsam's one of them, Agent Stale's another. I just don't see it as a thrash album because of really thrash and speed metal are very similar musically.
yeah.
So it comes down to the vocals, and you get nothing out of the higher register on this album. So I tend to file that as a speed metal album, but an awesome album nonetheless. But I just don't see it as a thrash album.
Well, I see it as a thrash album, and I would be nitpicking. This for me would be in my top 5 quite easily. It's my go-to Flotsam album. Someone else mentioned here, and I completely agree. First 2, maybe 3. For me, it's the first 2 Flotsam albums. I do lose interest after that, but this I absolutely love. And if we're talking about nitpicking, the thing that really bugs me about this album is the track listing on the back is in the wrong order. It's in a different order to what's on the lyric sheet. And if you want to know the order, you have to look at the record.
Yeah,
you can't look at the order when the record's fucking playing, can you? So that,
you can if you put it in the middle of the room and you walk around it.
Or you can if you buy 3 different copies whilst you're pissed, Andy.
Yeah. Surely one of them's got the right order on it.
You know what? Maybe subconsciously that's what I was doing. But yeah, I'm picking hairs with it. I think it's absolutely fantastic. For many of the reasons that have been said so far. You know, Jason Newsted on it. I like Eric AK's voice. Doomsday for the Deceiver, great song. Metal Shock. In fact, I don't know where my notes are for this one, so I'm having to remember this from De Fuhrer as well. I thought it was a great song. It's just everything about it.
Yeah,
it makes me happy when I play it.
Yeah.
Is there no consensus for my saying it's more just a speed metal album than a thrash metal album? There's no one
not
jumping on that in the comments or on here.
Hold on.
I think, like I said when I was talking about it, it's the very sort of beginnings. It's those years of that sort of thrash metal beginnings, isn't it? So I wouldn't argue with you if you was calling it a speed metal album. But again, for me, that line between speed metal and thrash metal is very fine. You know, I don't know what defines that personally. I don't know whether speed metal comes from having that element of traditional heavy metal in it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And maybe thrash metal then has that element of that sort of Judas Priest style riffing. I don't know. It's but yeah, I don't, like I said, I don't know what the line is between speed and thrash, but I wouldn't. Yeah, if someone said that's a speed, I wouldn't argue with them because it has got tons and tons of melody and traditional heavy metal sort of values about it, hasn't it?
It's up there for me anyway.
Yeah, it's a great album.
Oh yeah.
Right.
So should we change the header of the thing to the top 5 speed / thrash?
I'm not nitpicking to that degree. So we have got. Hold on, see if this works properly. We've got 5. So those are the first 5 bands we've talked about so far.
Well done, Andy. Well done, Andy.
Some that are obviously going to stay in here, and some I think we all know are going to drop out fairly soon. But so the next album we talk about, we'll have to decide whether it goes in or gets repeated. So what are we up to? We're up to Scott, I think.
Okay, let's see if this goes in or stays out. Exodus, Bonded by Blood. Another one that I thought I would have higher in my list, to be honest. I mean, it's got excellent, that kind of machine gun riffing. Pretty much what you'd expect from a classic thrash album. But for me, the production kind of lets it down a little bit. The vocals seem kind of far back in the production, so you've got like a really kind of great focus on the guitars, but the vocals sound a bit kind of distant. I mean, I think Paul Baloff does a great job, because I think he kind of gets a bit of shit, but I think he sounds really good. But I think the production kind of lets his side of the album down a little bit. I feel it's quite templated as well. So there's not many breakdowns. There's not many like interesting sections through it. It's really just verse, chorus, solo, verse, chorus, end. Do you know what I mean? So it wasn't as an interesting album as a lot of the others I listened to. I thought the song "No Love" is a good change in pace, but I thought it could have came earlier in the album, because you've got a lot of kind of blending song by song by song, and then "No Love" kind of comes a bit late, when that's a kind of more mid-tempo, interesting song that I thought could have come up maybe a bit earlier. And it's got an okay flow, but it's I don't know, it's a bit kind of it's choppy for me. So I didn't actually enjoy it as much as I thought I would. So, but still a good album. You know, on its day, on its own, when you're doing something, I really like it. But when it's mixed in with all these other amazing albums, I thought it kind of fell short a little bit. So,
well, I'll lay my cards on the table. It's a top 5 album for me. I think it's tight as hell, melodic riffs. I don't mind verse chorus music at all. Not got a problem with that. I think "Bonded by Blood" is one of the most metal songs ever.
Agreed.
Metal Command, love that song. "No Love" I think is great. Yeah, I think probably agree with you. Maybe if it came a bit earlier, but who knows? It didn't. The final song of the album, "Strike of the Beast," probably my favorite song on that album, and what a killer way to end it. I could play this one over and over again. The album we were talking before about, could I put it on 3 times, one after the other, easy. And probably the biggest argument I've got for it is it's got Gary Holt on it. It's got to be in there for him. He's a master.
He is a beast.
I finally got a copy on vinyl last year as a grail, so I'm flying the flag, nailing my colours to the wall, whatever you call it. Brilliant.
That's got VCLT written all over it.
No, I found that was an eBay, I think.
No, I meant for me.
Oh, for you.
Who's going, Mark? You or me?
Yeah, go for it, Mike.
I think, considering it's got Gary Holt on it, the guitars are just kind of coursed along a bit motorheady, a bit sort of flat, and they don't really have anything massively interesting. It doesn't build much tension, unlike another album that certainly does, that I wanted to talk about. I think Bailoff sounds like a heart monitor. It's like, you know, you get like every line, you're like, oh fucking hell, he's there with that again. It's very much a one-trick pony, and it's a great album for '83, but unfortunately it didn't come out till '85, and by that time I just think it just isn't like top class. As far as influential go, it's hard to beat, but that's not what this is about. It doesn't matter if Grandfather's Rights were in there, but that's not what this is about. It's about how fucking awesome is the album, and for me, it's beaten by it's beaten by another album that I'll talk about later on, because it's obviously this other album that I'm on about uses that as a blueprint. And it's also, and that uses Kill 'Em All as a bit of a blueprint, but it's not as technical as Kill 'Em All. It's not as clear. The production's pretty fucking muddy. It's not. I couldn't go through that 3 times in a row at all.
I find out of all the albums we've showed up to now, I think this is the one that is the most thrashy sounding. You know, like you listen to Kill 'Em All, you listen to those early thrash albums that came out. This one for me, it's less melodic than those albums. It's less leaning towards traditional heavy metal. Pleasures of the Flesh was my introduction to Exodus. So I kind of fell in love with that album with Zetro singing. So it took me a little while to get used to Paul Baloff's vocals. I know what Mike's talking about, but you know, like I agree with Andy. Bonded by Blood. The lyrics in that have got to be the most metal lyrics of any thrash song, haven't they? They've had books named after the lyrics, all sorts of stuff. You know, albums, all sorts of things have been named after it. But
DVDs,
yeah, everything, yeah. Artwork's awesome as well. Gary Holt, I think Gary Holt on this is great. I think he's a great guitarist. I think for me, some of the riffs on the later albums are probably slightly stronger. I rate this. I'm not sure if it's a top 5 for me, but it's certainly a top thrash album. Where it comes in our 5, I don't know, but yeah, I love it. It's great. There's no doubt about it. Piranha, love the song Piranha.
Yeah, I've got Piranha written down here.
Awesome, just brilliant. Yeah. Exodus, boom.
But does it shift any off the top 5?
It does for me.
Yes,
it does for me.
It does.
Does
It
for
does.
me.
Yeah.
Well, it would shift Exhumer because I don't know Exhumer.
That would be my option too.
Yeah,
I would.
Even though I
swap it out
showed
with
the
Exhumer.
Exhumer one, as I say, I knew I wasn't expecting it to be there. So, is it unanimous that it shifts to Exhumer?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, because that makes it nice and quick, and we can carry on. Hold on. So, do you want to start talking about the next one, and I'll sort that out?
Who's next?
Because I'll mess something up here. Hold on. Yeah, go on.
Let's do it.
It's you, Mike.
Or is it? Right, here we go. Sabbath, History of a Time to Come. Now, a lot of the bands we've spoke about and a lot of the Bay Area thrash and stuff, even though we love them and they have their own identity, they are kind of derivative as well of what else was going on in the Bay Area. And these lot, to me, were just, the only thing they were doing was putting the first Sabbath album out, because this sounds fuck all like anything else as far as I'm concerned. If you take the drums and the guitars and stuff, would it be a top 5 thrash album? Probably not. It's all serviceable, but it's not a top 5 thrash album if you base it on that. But what makes this a top 5 thrash album for me is Martin Walkyier. He's fucking unbelievable. The lyrics are like a fucking Grattan's catalogue to go through. There's just fucking thousands of everything. The guy's vocal performance is just second to none. I could put this on 30 times in a row, no matter what frame of mind I'm in. It's not going to tire. I'm not going to tire of it. There's not any parts of it that I think I wish they'd shortened that bit. Like I said about with the ultraviolence, where some of the long passages do me head in a bit. There's nothing at all about this. And yes, musically, it's probably just a really good thrash album that isn't getting pushed over the top. But it's all Martin Walkyier just totally knocking it out the park. That was in my top 5.
That is an awesome album. Actually, that was one of the ones I just listened to this morning, and I just thought it's such an interesting album just to sit back and listen to, because there's so much going on, and like you say, with the vocal performance is insane, because you find a lot of these. I'm not saying this is a bad thing, but a lot of these vocal performances from these thrash singers it's templated. They've got a certain way they sing. They've got a certain vocal pattern that they sing in. This is just out the box, completely different, and it grips you from start to finish. And like you say, it's not going to be the most technical. It's not going to be. It's nothing that's going to blow your mind. But you're just going to sit there and go, "This is fucking amazing." Do you know what I mean? So, I mean, I agree with everything you say. I think it's a great album.
Yeah, it's fabulous. It's Sabat's first two albums are, for me, two of the greatest albums to ever be made by any UK band. They're just brilliant. I'm sure Martin Walker has formulated some way to breathe through his arse as he sings. Because if you see his live performances,
mental.
It's just relentless how the guy breathes. And it's like that on these albums. The vocal performance was what initially sort of piqued my interest, because I just thought, that guy, and I've been lucky enough to see him live as well, and he's spitting those vocals out. He's spitting on the crowd as well as he's doing it, but that's part of it. But for me as well, it's a furious album. It's like it goes from one riff to the next, and all the riffs are good. There's no filler riffs for me in this at all. It just goes from one riff to another, and they're just quality and played well. Production wise, it's a bit thin for me compared to later stuff. But again, you've got to listen to the year. And what they and Andy Steep couldn't produce this because he was too busy playing the guitar. But yeah, this is for me. It's definitely in that top 5 list we've got now. I know which album I would replace with this one for sure. Just one of the best albums in, like I say, in my opinion, to come out of England in any style of music. It's that good.
Yeah.
Do you know what? I'm actually not that familiar with it. I only recently got into or picked up some Sabat, the one that came after that one. I like it, but I was never blown away by it. So
I can understand that, Andy, because it's too much. That History of a Time to Come takes the foot back off the pedal compared to Dreamweaver. Even though Dreamweaver's great and I love it, it gets a bit too much. It's too suffocating. Whereas
it's busy. It's busy.
Yeah.
So we shall see. So I'm not able to. I'm not going to bullshit my way through this one.
I know what I would replace a band that's in the top 5 with that.
All right, let's put it up then and see where you guys think it would come in, because we shall see. Oh, wrong one. Hold on.
I would take Nuclear Assault out of there.
I'd second that. Yeah, I think it's a stronger album than Game Over.
Right, so I've lost my button. Where's my fucking button? Here we go.
Mike,
I would take any of them out apart from Metallica.
If you had to choose one,
are you happy? If me and Scott are saying Nuclear Assault,
yeah, well, I'm gonna. It's gonna be tougher to get rid of Death Angel than I thought. Clearly, yeah. Go on then. Take. Well, I mean, yeah. Take Nuclear Assault out. Yeah.
What do you think, Andy?
Well, out of those 5, see, this is where it gets hard. I would. Yeah, the other 4 are stronger for me, certainly. Yeah, this is going to get hard later, isn't it?
Yeah, big time. Yeah.
We want Sabat in. Okay.
Sabbath.
Sabbath or Sabbath. Right, I'll sort that out in a sec because we've got a.
Who's next, Mark?
I think so.
Now it's me.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Have you done two, Mark?
I have, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm going to get the big guns out.
Oh, here we go.
After the disappointing show of my my Exuma.
Here we go. Oh, here we go.
Oh, here we go.
This is how it gets hard.
Oh, no.
The album that
It's too much for me to take. I can't deal with this anymore now.
Yeah,
my
I'm going to log off.
introduction to Testament was not this album, but it was these songs. It was the Live at Eindhoven EP, which is basically half of this album.
Yeah.
And for many, many years, I still would have put Practice What You Preach as my favorite album. Now, I know this isn't about which is your favorite album for the band, but this has grown on me continuously, year after year after year, play after play after play. And it's not a one-trick pony. I just think the songwriting is really good. The lyrics are really good. I mean, if you look at something like Kill 'Em All, the lyrics, everything about it is quite simplistic. It's really good, but it's quite simple. The lyrics of the songs, there's not much depth or meaning in any of them. But here, they Testament kind of cover everything. Proper lyrics is what I wrote down here. Chuck mixes up his vocals. Sometimes he's clear and precise. Sometimes he barely seems to be able to cram them in because the music's so fast.
Yeah.
I like that as well. Over the Wall sets the tone. In terms of the Haunting, which is great. Raging Waters lifts it up even more. I love that Violence, Terror, Raging Waters in the chorus. Brilliant stuff. Actually, I mentioned about Metallica having a maiden moment in the middle. We're on that First Strike is Deadly has a maiden moment in the middle as well. Good maiden-esque risk. And then Do or Die and Alone in the Dark is where this peaks for me. And ending up with Apocalyptic City, which is again a great song to close the album. Everybody just seems on point, and it's just really, really tight for a debut album. Also produced and engineered by Alex Perialis, who's obviously a bit of a thrash metal god as well in terms of his production and engineering. So this for me is definitely top 5, and it may well be my top 1.
Yeah, it's a fabulous album. It's Over the Wall. Again, I mentioned it with Voracious Souls. Over the Wall is got one of my favourite thrash songs ever. And I think that middle bit, the middle part of that is very Iron Maiden-ish. It's fabulous. Chuck Billy's brilliant. Alex Skolnick on it. It was, he's definitely got a style of guitar playing that's different to a lot of other lead guitar players in thrash metal. And I know he's gone on to sort of have little jazz projects and all that. So the guy's obviously super talented, but this is a brilliant album. If I was going to pick any holes in it, I mean, probably the bass playing and the drumming is just, just what's needed. There's nothing special about it. But Chuck Billy, his voice on this is just phenomenal album. It's just absolutely awesome. And I'll be honest, this for me is in my top 5. And look at that logo. Look at that logo as well. That's one of the best logos in thrash, isn't it?
Definitely. I would have to completely and utterly agree. It's absolutely awesome. It's got a really full sound. Chuck Billy's melodies and vocal patterns aren't your like typical thrash sound. It's like he's really put thought into them. It flows really well without like blending into each other. The guitar's thick and heavy, and what I wrote down here was the first 10 seconds of each song have you invested in the rest of it.
That's a good way of putting it.
So it's like you know when like a when a TV series puts out a pilot and they make the pilot really really good to get you invested in like the rest of the series. That's what I feel like. It's like the first 10 seconds or 20 seconds of every song, it just sucks you in, and you're just like, right, okay, we're on a fucking good one here.
Yeah.
So I mean that's only way I could put it. I mean, Over the Wall, Burnt Offerings, Do or Die, First Strike is Deadly, Apocalyptic City are just like the highlights, but that's not saying that the others aren't good. That's just my highlights of the album. But it's musically fantastic. So it's got to be up. It's got to be in the top 5.
Well, I'm probably going to embarrass myself here, but
you're going to show the jam.
But I'm going to say it because there's probably no better audience and group of people to actually say this in front of. But when I put this album on through the week, I nearly didn't play it. I nearly didn't bother with it because I didn't feel like I had to. And I put it on and I cranked this album loud. And do you know what? It made me start crying because I just thought, fucking hell. I might as well just fucking die now because nothing's topping that fucker ever. Nothing's topping it. Chuck Billy gives a more rounded performance on this album than he ever gave in any other album, if you think about it, because you never heard the shrieks after this album, whereas you got everything, and then he started to drop down lower in the register as he's got older, which, you know, fair enough. I'm not knocking the guy. Still love him. Still love Testament. But this is like the complete spectrum of what he was able to do at one point. And I've always, and I know Louis Clemente has never been the best drummer in the world, but he's my favourite Testament drummer because I don't care that he's not as technical as the others. It's just about what he does do, not what he can't do. And honestly, I sat and listened to this as loud as my stereo would go, and just sat and I had tears in my eyes, and I just thought, this is fucking ridiculous. It's just awesome. And I knew right away, number 1, not even top 5, fucking anything. Anything less than number 1 is no good to me for that.
I was wondering where you were going to go. When you said, I wasn't going to play it, I put it on. I had no idea which way you were going to go, whether you were going to go. And I just thought, what a pile of shite. Or
no, it's got everything for me, that album.
You know what, though, Mike? And it's not embarrassing in the slightest or whatever. That is exactly what music is about. Do you know, if it makes you sit there and you think, fuck me, that is so good, I've got goosebumps, or you're just wanting to play the air drums or bang your head, or it just puts you in a good mood where you want to go downstairs and grab people and go, fucking hell. Do you know, that's what it's all about. So
you sit there and just go, thank fuck this album was made.
That's basically what I sat doing. It came at the right time in my life. It was very early on, like 88 or something. I heard that, and it just and like Andy, for a long time, I jumped on Practice as my favourite. But that, you know what I think it was? I felt like I was a little bit detached from metal for part of my life. Not just metal, just music in general. But when I thought back about Testament, when they got mentioned, Practice is such a sort of commercial, easy listening album that I would sort of in my mind think, oh well, yeah, even though I haven't listened to much lately, I could probably listen to Practice. Yeah, Jurgen's right. For me, that was always number 1.
Well, I think we better replace something then.
The big question is, what are we going to replace there, boys?
Exodus for me.
Flotsam.
Oh no,
it's a speed metal album. It's an awesome one, but it's a speed metal album.
It's Exodus for me.
I mean, something like, I don't know Sabat well enough, and if if you three are adamant that should stay in, then I'm not going to be able to argue a case for that one.
No, you're not.
But I don't know. The other three hard. I'd probably say Death Angel out of those.
Woohoo!
Oh,
Get
no
the
way.
fuck out!
No, and I love that album. But if I can't take out Sabat, I mean Sabat wouldn't be in my top 5. Death Angel may well be.
So
But,
the deciding vote lays with me here, doesn't it? Because we've got Death Angel, Exodus, and Flotsam and Jetsam all picked.
Or Metallica.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, Metallica's staying in there. I would have to go with Flotsam and Jetsam.
Oh,
you're off Darcy's Christmas list.
I've got to.
Killing me.
It was out of Exodus or Flotsam and Jetsam, and
Killing me.
I know. Yeah, I'm sorry, Scott.
Well, just think of it as a speed metal album, and it'll be easier to swallow.
Killing me.
You got some agreement there. This is hold on, let's come back to this view.
This is the problem we've got now. Is it's going to pain me every time. Now it's going to pain me.
Right, who are we on now then?
Is it me?
Think so.
It is.
Don't worry, Peter. That'll be there till the bitter end. That Sabbath album.
Let's have it, boys.
Oh, here we go.
Oh.
Let's have it. Now, you boys know me. All you people watching know me. Do I have to say anything about this album? Yeah, of course I do, yeah. This for me is one of the greatest thrash metal records ever recorded. Russell Anderson's vocals are it's everything you want. The way he puts them into the song, the screams, the way he uses his voice as another instrument, the drumming of Paul Bostoff is just fucking awesome. And I can understand why he got the gigs he did after this band. Rob Flynn deserves a little bit of attention because Rob Flynn was the original guitarist in this band when they were actually called Forbidden Evil.
I think he wrote a few of them, eh?
I think he did, absolutely, yeah. But the guitaring on this, everything, musicianship-wise, it's got everything. The guitar tone is exactly how I want a thrash metal guitar to sound. I want it to sound like I'm listening to the band in the studio. You know, I don't get me wrong. I like those well-produced albums, but I like the rawness of this. It sounds like it's a live recording almost. There's not a bad riff on this album, in my opinion. There's not a bad riff. It's got everything. It's got the acoustic moments. It's got the melodic solos. Great artwork as well. Ken Matau. I think that's how Matthew, how he pronounce it. I can't say. I've spent nights on the bus coming home from clubs singing songs of this with my mates, singing along with tunes off this album. It's ingrained in me. Honest to God, it's just such a good album. Let me know, boys, what you think, because I know Mike's chomping at the bit to have a go.
I'm chomping at the fucking bit to get into that, like.
But it doesn't matter what Mike says. This, for me, is one of the greatest thrash albums ever made.
Go on, Mike. Get off your chest.
Go on, Mike. Be gentle.
Right. First of all, I don't think the production helps that album whatsoever. You've got this like thick band in the middle of instrumentation without much separation at all. And I just see that as like a really sort of piercy Judas Priest album. And I know Russ Anderson is one of the better singers in thrash, but it's for all the wrong reasons do I remember that album. Every time I think of that album, I hear embarrassing vocal melodies like Unbelievers Holy Bell, and you're like, fucking hell, what is that? He's an awesome singer, but he's got some really atrocious, ugly melodies that I can't ever and never have been able to get out of my head. the lyrics are quite juvenile, and that feel no little pain. I mean, I could go on, but I mean that like let me down because I'm running out of time. I don't know what to do. Oh my fucking god! I find it embarrassing. The vocal melodies, I find them embarrassing, and I find that there's not a lot of separation in the instruments. Everything, if you imagine the full spectrum of an album, everything seems to occupy that space in the middle, and it's like, fucking hell, it's muddy as fuck. There you go.
Right, I'm chiming in now.
That's what we were looking for.
Yeah.
I think, Mike, you're talking absolutely out your fucking arse. This is my top.
This wouldn't even get in my top 10.
Oh, you're fucking bollocks.
Honestly, wouldn't.
Honestly, I've written down favourite tracks, everything. I wish every thrash vocalist put in a performance like Russ Anderson. He's fucking top notch. I've put the album is flawless, the production is spot on, and the riffing is just superb. From start to finish, this is a fucking masterpiece. Honestly,
I think it's so muddy you can't even tell really what the riffs are.
You're absolute bollocks. Honestly, I mean, Russ Anderson, you could put him on any thrash album, and he would just enhance it to fucking 10 times whatever it was going to be.
Yeah, he's the most underrated.
Yeah,
vocalist,
I mean,
surely.
Honestly, when I listen to his voice, it's because what you were saying, Mark, about the guitars. The guitars are awesome. It's everything you want in the guitars. That is everything I want in a vocalist.
Yeah,
that is my number one. That is the only one I put as 10 out of 10. That's got to be in the top 5, top 1. That's my top 1.
See, so where I stand with that, and I mean, I'm fairly new to this album. I hadn't heard it before. Mark showed it every video, I think, for a while, and yeah. I kept saying I haven't got it, and then I picked up the first 2 albums on eBay a while ago now, and I really enjoy the album. Is it top 5 for me? I don't know. Maybe I haven't invested enough time into it. I think Chalice of Blood is a great way to kick off the album. That scream is just all of that. Through the Eyes of Glass, brilliant. Forbidden Evil, just galloping thrash. Feel No Pain, not so hot on. I think it was a bit stop-start. Follow Me, love the melodic vocals. It's a great 7-minute epic of a song. And As Good as Dead is a banger as well. But I think it's a great album. I've listened to it quite a lot since I've got it in to really try and get up to speed in it and make it up for all those years that I'd never heard of it. Is it top 5 for me? I don't know. I don't think so. But it's a great album.
Cool.
What's the comments saying?
So,
well, you saw this.
I think people are liking it.
Piss off.
What about the embarrassing? I mean, I know that Russ Anderson's a great singer, right? There's no taking away from that. But what about the fucking embarrassing melodies and lyrics that he uses?
That's what I love about. I love those melodies. I'm not too. When it comes to lyrics, I'm not always overly critical of what somebody's singing about. The lyrical content hasn't got a massive sort of draw for me. But I love those. I can understand what you're saying to a certain degree because he does put some very different style melodies over it, but that is what I love about it.
It just draws you in. It's completely different. It's not the legacy. You can't compare it to anything.
No,
because it's just its own.
From when it kicks off, It's
I like
tough.
that.
Chalice of
Chalice
Blood.
of Blood.
Chalice of
Chalice
Blood
of
is one
Blood
of the
is
best
great.
Thrash songs ever.
I've at that point I've got a semi on every
Oh, aye.
time, and you know
I go from 6 to 12.
Chalice of Blood's awesome, but Off the Edge is fucking awful. Through the Eyes of Glass is awesome. March into the Fire's awesome, but the rest of them are like, you know, they're not top 5. I just can't have that. That is just.
We need to decide.
right?
Let's do
Yeah.
it.
Oh God. Here
Well,
we go.
it's in my top 5.
Well, all right then. Is it better than Bonded by Blood?
Yes.
No.
Yes.
I
my
would say that. I would say, as much as I don't fucking subscribe to this notion off of that Forbidden album, that it is better than Bonded by
Are
Blood.
you just picking on me now? Because it's one of my favorite.
I would get rid of any
I
of
could
them.
just close the stream down now. And
I
be
would,
done with it.
to be honest, I would get rid.
I don't care which one goes.
Oh, it'd have to. Yeah. But out of those, I would pick Exodus to go.
Exodus, bye-bye.
Turn me down and I'm running out of time. I'm going for the piss.
I go for a lie down.
Well, listen, if I had to get rid of one, I know Metallica's going to stay there. Sabbath is a phenomenal album. It's got to be Exodus. Exodus has to go.
I would put it in over Sabbath or Sabbath, basically.
Yeah. Okay.
But
this is what's hard about this, isn't it? Now, because I think we're all going to lose an album or two that we love,
or a friend.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm going to unsubscribe to you.
There we go. There we go.
This has to go. Right. Okay. Good.
Exodus is gone.
Look,
Look,
what do people watching think of us up to now? Well, we can't be far off, can we? I know it's Bonded by Blood. It is a great album. This is what's so difficult about this, though, isn't it? How...
Who's next?
Right, can we just we just slow it down a bit? I mean, fucking hell, we're putting all the good ones at the start.
Well, I did suggest otherwise.
Right, I'm gonna put one out there.
Anthony's not happy with us.
Well, tough.
I'll tell you what, Andy, if you don't take anything else away from this video, you need to take away adding History of a Time to Come to your shopping list.
It is on a wish list, it's just it doesn't come up cheaply.
Right, here we go. This might be one that we don't argue about so much, but it has to be mentioned. Okay. Slayer, Show No Mercy, 1983. Obviously got this. I find this massive influence of, like the new wave of British heavy metal through this. I kind of went in. I went in to this album with an opinion on it, and I came out with the exact same opinion. It's not got a gripping sound. It's got some really nice breakdowns. It's got meaty guitar tone, chunky riffs. But for me, Tom Araya is like a hit and miss on this. One song he sounds brilliant, and then it could be the next song he sounds flat. But I mean, some great songs. The Antichrist, Die by the Sword, Black Magic is probably my favourite song off it. But I've put here it was okay, but my opinion didn't change. It's still probably my least favourite out of the big four debuts. It's still on its own a good album, but it is where it is. It's not going to be the top 5. So that's where I am with Show No Mercy.
I'm on a similar footing with you. I don't actually own a copy of it. I was kind of looking for it on vinyl because that's when I was in my I've got to get 80 stuff on vinyl, and now that's kind of that ship has sailed. Getting it for the sort of price I pay for it, but I had to listen to it this week. I listened to it for years because I used to hate Slayer. I didn't get Slayer when they came out. They were too aggressive for me. My poor Welsh ears, and I just never got into them until much later on. But I was really surprised when I listened to it. I just thought it wasn't quite as evilly fast and nasty as I first remembered. I certainly think other things like Hell Awaits and Raining Blood, they dialed that up a bit for dramatic effect. Evil Has No Boundaries, brilliant song. You mentioned the Antichrist, Fight Till Death. I really want to try and find a copy of this, even on CD, because but it's just difficult to get hold of. But again, I think if even from the Big Four debut ranking, I still probably would have it as my least favorite. Part of that being lack of familiarity with it. And I've got a lot of Slayer albums now, so I'm getting there.
I haven't got it either, but I like it. It doesn't blow me away, but Slayer didn't blow me away. I didn't jump onto them till South of Heaven, and I went back and listened to previous stuff and just thought, it's all right. But that's kind of it, I like that they were doing something a little bit different. They've got that darker, evil sound and stuff, but Reverb Slayer isn't my Slayer. I'm more like South of Heaven and the following two, rather than all that.
I'm with you on that.
Yeah, Trev said it there. It's moving light.
I don't think it's the weakest out of the Big Four, though.
Yeah, but you're wrong, mate.
There you go. Look at that. Yeah, perfect.
I was forgetting.
Judas Priest on speed. There's definite. Again, this is like the very beginnings of thrash. So for me, it's definitely still got that traditional sort of speed metal sound going on. Tom Araya is quite not found his feet vocally wise for me on this. And yeah, production wise, it's very thin. The guitars are, some of the riffs that Jeff Hanneman goes on to write put this album, down there in their discography for me. My introduction to Slayer was South of Heaven. So sort of going back to this, when you get into an album like South of Heaven and how good that is, listening to this was always not hard because I enjoy it, but it's way down on my go-to list for Slayer albums. So for me, it's a good debut, but it's not in my top 5.
So I think we can all agree then that it's not going anywhere.
That's right.
The list stays the same.
Okay. Excellent.
It doesn't get in there.
I'm glad we could slow
We've agreed on
the
one.
franticness of the listener.
I know. And it's quite nice that there's an English band still hanging on.
Yeah.
Whose go is it now?
Yours.
Right. Overkill, Feel the Fire. It's probably going to be a similar story with this as it was for Show No Mercy. Fuck you, and then some. For me, Blitz is one of the better vocalists in thrash. Absolutely awesome. They're one of the more solid catalogues in thrash. And this is a great album, but it just for the top 5 album, it's got to have a killer component, and everything in this is good, great, but it's not. It hasn't got that extra special component that pushes it over the top. It's just a great, solid album. They've got like a sort of the beginnings of an Anthrax guitar tone from the Spreading the Disease album that Anthrax obviously went to absolutely nail that guitar tone. That sort of sounds like it. That might have, if the production was a bit better and that guitar tone was more like the Spreading the Disease guitar tone, that might have put that album, higher up my pecking order. But as it stands, you know, I love Overkill, but it's just it lacks the killer punch.
Yeah, I mean, I would have to agree. I really actually enjoy this album. So I don't want to say too many like really bad things about it, but I am. Well, not bad things, but like I think you kind of summed it up perfectly. It's. I mean, you could easily listen to that twice in a row, but it's not got that kind of killer element. And I love Bobby Blitz's vocals in the early days. It's got that kind of soaring vocal, but at times I think with the music behind it, I think he could kind of like punch those vocals in just like a bit harder. Do you know what I mean? It's more of a traditional metal delivery rather than a kind of a harsher, aggressive thrash delivery. It's got kind of Maiden influences all the way through it, I think. I've actually put down here Thrash Maiden.
Yeah. Yeah.
I get to the stage where it's like some songs are fine. They're not crap. They're not amazing. They're just kind of helping the train run along. But then you get to like a song like Feel the Fire, which is like it's like got that real gallop to it. And even on Second Son, it's like these kind of these like new album influences run all the way through it. Like Second Son, like Seventh Son, sounds like Bruce Dickinson singing it. It's got that, it's got that kind of like early Maiden feel, like something like Off Killers. It's got that kind of like, it's got that waste all the way through it. But I mean, great songs: Rotten to the Core, Second Son, Feel the Fire, Kill at Command. But I mean, even DD Verde has that Steve Harris, like that twang to his bass. But like I say, it's not going to make near my top 5, but it's a solid album. Like I really do like it, but it's not going to be up there for me.
No.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. Had a listen through it again. I don't know what happened to my notes. Maybe I didn't make any. So it was 85, wasn't it? So there are going to be it's a lot of bands around that time. I still don't think thrash had really established itself by then. Sort of about, thinking around 86, 87 when all the big guns were really defining what the sound was. And so there are going to be those new wave of British heavy metal influences in, because that was their influence. Just about every song you mentioned there, Scott, I'd agree. I would have picked those out as well. Rotten to the Core is one of my favourite Overkill songs, though. It would, the list we've got so far, it would make my list over Sabat again, because I don't know Sabat that well, and I've got a feeling that we're going to end up with one in the top 5 that I don't know that well. Again, that doesn't mean it's a bad album. I'm not against it being in there, because if you three that strongly about it, then who am I to argue? But yeah, it wouldn't be a top 5 for me either.
No, it's a good album. I completely. There's nothing I can say that all you three guys haven't said already. What I do like about this, I really like that DD Verney bass sound that he developed. And you can hear the beginnings of it on this. It's a really unique. I think as soon as you hear it, DD Verney's, you know it's him. He's got a very, very unique style. Bobby Blitz, I think Bobby Blitz sounds great on it. Gustafsson, the guitarist, some great riffs in it, but good album. Not in my top 5 though.
Right, so it stays the same.
Okie dokie.
Just a bit of a reminder. So we've got Sabat, Metallica, Death Angel, Forbidden, and Testament.
Strong top 5.
This is not in any order yet.
We'll
do the order at the end, but these are the contenders for the showdown at the end.
Is it me next?
No.
No, is it you?
It is.
Brilliant.
Well, I'm kind of going to go for the elephant in the room based on some of the comments that have been made in, and this isn't going to be a top 5 at all. I'll put lay the cards on the table, but I thoroughly enjoyed playing this album again last week, and I haven't played it in years, honestly, and it's one of my favorite bands. But Fistful of Metal, I know this is going to be probably not much more than an honorary mention, but coming back to this one after such a long time, I enjoyed it a hell of a lot more than I thought I would. As I say, I'm a Joey guy. I'm in the Joey camp, and I just trying to remember what where's my notes. I don't need notes for this, but I think Turban's vocals on here are really good. I really like it. I think it loves this works well with the style that they've got. Death Rider, Metal Thrashing Mad is a brilliant song. I'm 18 is terrible. Terrible cover, shouldn't be on here. The most embarrassing thing is, though, the first thing I did when I turned 18 was get up, pick up this very album, and play that song over and over for some stupid reason. But that's kind of why I'm endeared by it. But Panic, Subjugator, Soldier Metal, Death from Above, Howling Fury. I've got a lot of affection for this album. I like it a lot more than I realised, and certainly not my favourite, my top 5. But I wanted to make sure that it was shown today, and that my love for this album shone through. Yeah, and it's also produced by Carl Kennedy of the Rods, which this one was as well. Feel the Fire was produced by Carl Kennedy as well. Yeah, what can I say? It's I know it's going to get shat upon probably to some degree, but
well, before it gets shat upon by, I'm guessing somebody who's below me, right below me. I mean, I couldn't agree more with you, Andy. When my expectations of this album wasn't great. I mean, I've not spent much time with this album in the past, but like, I think you've got to kind of revisit this album for this video, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. I've got here Neil Turbin, sounds great, although it's a more traditional heavy metal vocal delivery than it is like a thrash metal. But at the same time, I see this more as just a straightforward heavy metal album than I do a thrash album. It's got, I reckon it's got more just straightforward metal elements to it rather than like a thrash metal, like overall thrash metal feel. When it comes to I'm 18, I love the original, and I actually don't mind this cover. I mean, it doesn't enhance the album, but I don't think it lets the album down. I still think it's pretty decent. Standouts for me: Death Rider, Metal Thrashing Mad, Soldiers of Metal, Death from Above, and Dance Bits. And I'm not the kind of guy. I know you guys aren't really either, but I don't really pick out certain. I don't pick out certain instruments or certain players as, oh yeah, that really makes this album amazing. But Dance Bits and Charlie Benante really actually stuck out for me in this album. Overall, I wouldn't put it in the top 5, but I actually really enjoyed listening to this album. So yeah, it's not in the top. It's not up there, but I still really enjoy it.
I agree. I concur.
Well, we needn't spend more than 10 seconds about me, because I didn't listen to this. I put it on, and I put the first song on, and that vocal style where every single line you get, he kind of blows himself out. It's like, and I just thought, fuck off. Still, fuck off after all these years. I can't fucking stand it. So just move along that way.
Yeah, that is a great cover though, isn't it? Back in the day, I was intrigued by just look at that cover. That's metal in it. That's all about it. But yeah, Neil Turbin, I can take him or leave him. Really, I don't. He's much maligned, but I don't mind his vocal style at all. I don't mind this album at all. I enjoy it, but if I'm comparing it to other, debut albums, it's just not up there for me. It's kind of, it's got filler. It's not an album that I kind of play all the way through. I'd pick. I mean, I'm 18. I can't listen to that. I don't like that at all, really. But this is one of the few albums that I didn't revisit for this live stream we're doing, just because of, when I have played it in the past and listened to songs, it never really ever does it for me like some of the other debuts do. But it's again, please don't get me wrong. I'm not slagging it off. I like it. It's in my collection. If I didn't like it, it wouldn't be in my collection. But not one of mine. Certainly not a top 5 anyway for me.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't going to listen to it at all, and I'm so glad I did. Now, maybe another 4 or 5 years before I listen to it again, but I think that's maybe it's not one that I could put on 2 or 3 times, and it's not one I would put on now because I've heard it recently. It's fresh in the mind, but it was just one of those ones where I put it on and I was so pleased I did. I just thought, yeah, great, brought back the memories. Even if the memories were putting it on when I was 18, the first song I played. But all right, so I don't think it's hardly worth throwing this up, but let's do it anyway. It's not shifting any of those 5, that's for sure.
No, not in my opinion.
Good album, but doesn't make the top 5.
Now, this album I'm about to show is going to shift one of them, in my opinion.
Here we go.
Violence, Eternal Nightmare. Just an absolute, as our friend Darcy would say, an absolute thrash to piece. I know back in the day, a lot of people could not take to Sean Killian's vocal style at all. I'll be honest with you, the thing that intrigued me about this band was his vocal style. I loved when I listen to metal, and a lot of people, I tell people this at work and that, and I say, when I listen to metal, I listen to it because a lot of the time, if I'm feeling annoyed about something or pent up or angry, I can put on a metal album and it will calm me down, and I can walk out of my music room feeling kind of reinvigorated. I've listened to that song, and that album, and got all my aggression out. This makes me want to smash the place up. I just want to go to see this band, and like, even at the age I am now, it makes me want to stage dive. It is just furious. It is the riffs in this. Again, there's not a bad riff in it. And just the sort of the way Sean Killian sings over the songs, it is such a unique style, but it just works. It just fits right in there. If you looked at it as a mathematic equation, it just doesn't work. The kind of music they're playing with that vocal, but it's just fabulous. Drumming wise, it's excellent. Look at that artwork, Ed Repka artwork. Great logo. They even released the single off this in a vomit bag.
My cousin's got that.
Yeah, I did have it, but it dried up and stunk.
Yeah.
I had to let it go. But this for me is a top thrash album. Thanks, Thomas. Take care, mate. Gordon.
See you later, Gordon.
That for me is one of the best thrash albums ever.
So I'm actually relatively new to this album. I mean, obviously I knew of the album, but it was only when we did the first kind of round of the A to Z of rock and metal. One of you guys brought it up. I think it was Mike. And I thought, yeah, okay, I'll go and check it out. And I really liked it. I thought, how have I not heard this before? Why have I not checked this out? So finally got this. And oh my God, it's fucking amazing. I mean, top tracks for me, I mean, Eternal Nightmare is just a beast of a song. Phobophobia, also an amazing song. I mean, they're all really good. It's like, I actually wrote down this because, well, like you guys know, we've been going through all these albums kind of back to back, and I was at a stage where I was putting these kind of albums on that were okay, you know, they weren't going to make the top 5, and I actually wrote down this came in like a battering ram because I just went, fucking hell, this is making the top 5. The guitars are just completely on the same wavelength. You can almost pick them out through the production. Perfect balance in production, clean where it needs to be, and then like muddier where it needs to be. Where it kind of like enhance, like it's hard to explain. It's almost the guitars are really clean until the vocals come in, and it suddenly gets muddier to enhance the vocals up. It just sounds phenomenal. Melodic riffing, accompanied by like superb drumming. It's awesome. It's an amazing album. It has to be up there.
You see, that is how you produce an album. Can you listen to that and listen to Forbidden side by side and say Forbidden's production's top notch? Because if Forbidden's production's top notch, what the fuck is that then? Because that is like night and day better. That's, I mean, this was one of the ones that immediately I went top 5 without even thinking. As soon as we decided to do this video, it never dropped out the top 5 in my mind. And I mean, it takes, when I was saying about an album that I'll talk about later on, when I was on about Bonded by Blood, this is obviously taken stuff from Bonded by Blood, but it just pisses all over Exodus, this album. It pisses all over most things. But it's all the separation in the instrumentation, how easy it is to hear the guitars, the riffs, the catchiness of the riffs is just unbelievable. And when I played that compared to Forbidden Evil, I thought, fucking hell, Forbidden sounds awful compared to that. That's just fucking otherworldly good sound. That to me is all day long top 5.
I mean, the one thing I will say, because I think I've mentioned this before, is when I first listened to it, I thought Sean Killian's vocal delivery was out there compared to like other like albums, whatever album you want to pick. But the more and more you listen to that, it becomes just something completely different. It's superb. It's right up there.
Yeah, I'm gonna be repeating basically everything you heard so far. Sean Killian's vocals on point, makes the album stand out above others. Fast and Furious thrash. I love the riffs on Calling in the Coroner. It's just a superb song. Bodies on Bodies, killer track. Kill on Command, super fast. There's no chance of singing along to that one on the bus on the way home. Chorus accepted, of course. Yeah, I think it's it's a masterpiece. I was late to the party on this one. It's not one that I've added to the list for any sort of nostalgic view at all. I hadn't heard this album 3 years ago.
I love the fact it's only got 7 tracks on it, so it's like it's in and it's out.
It's 35 minutes.
It gets in, does what it's supposed to do, and that's it.
Yeah.
And then what do? You put it on again.
Exactly, yeah.
What we're kicking off, because that's got to go on.
That's up there. Something's got to go.
Something's got to go.
For me, it would be...
For me, Forbidden or Death Angel could easily go over that. That's just me.
I'm more Metallica or Sabbath.
Oh. For me, it's got to be Sabbath, I think.
Oh! No! Fucking hell!
Yeah.
Feel my Exodus pain, Metal Mickey.
I mean, it's definitely between. I mean, Death Angel, Forbidden, Testament have to be there for me. So Sabbath or Metallica, I am easy Ozzy with any of them.
Oh,
sorry, Mike.
What is the vote here? What, Andy? He's just going to fucking jack Sabbath off because he doesn't know it.
Well, I've got to go for the ones that are my favourite, haven't I?
Yeah. Listen, Mike. Doomsday went for me.
Exodus went for me.
Right.
Exodus went for Andy.
Let's see what the
it's hard.
Let's see what people have got to say.
Yeah, let's get the viewers in.
Over Forbidden.
Right, you're
getting, yes.
Stop Jürgen's
no, that is not going.
Oh,
I'm afraid it doesn't, Peter.
Sorry, Pete.
Nah, hang on. There must come on, guys. Get commenting.
I've already upset Pete with showing the last one.
We can't decide.
Oh, Darcy!
Darcy, you fucking traitor!
Yeah.
Oh, no way.
Gone.
Brilliant. See you, Sabat.
No!
Cunts.
Right, okay. Sabbath goes.
Okay, who's next? What are we on?
Right, just before we go on, let's
well, I want to see Doomsday up there, so
there we go. That's it up to now.
That's looking pretty healthy.
It's a strong one, that, isn't it?
It's got 3 of my 5, so
it's got 4 of my 5.
It's got 4. Oh, yeah,
3.5 of mine because I was on the fence with one.
Right, who's now?
Who just showed that one?
Me.
Who was following?
I think it's me.
Scott, then.
I don't know what to pick now. There's 2 I really want to show.
Oh, it's getting tough now.
Oh, no.
I need to get some more albums because...
Right, I'm going with this.
Because we didn't work out any order, obviously there's a lot of overlap. So anybody... It wasn't preordained that Mark would show violence. That any one of us could have shown it in any order.
We're all just trying to go with the flow here. So I'm just trying to get my notes for this one. If we just hold on for 2 seconds.
I'll see what it is. We're going to nip out for a quick break.
Oh, really?
It's a polite way.
What's he doing?
He's picking out some more albums.
He's trying to think of a new top 5 desperately.
Right, do you want to see my pick then?
Ready.
Right, here we go.
Oh, I bet you're going to just go.
Annihilator.
I'll be back.
Oh, that's a good sign. Alice in Hell. Do you know what? I listened to this. I did, honestly. And I thought, I know quite a lot of tracks off this, so I'll probably skip through them because there's obviously a lot of albums to listen to through the week, and put this on. So I thought, you could probably do without Crystal Ann because it's like a wee instrumental kind of building up to Alice in Hell. I thought, I'll not listen to Alice in Hell because I've heard that a million times. Word Salad, heard that a million times. But I put this on and I thought, how phenomenal is this album? I put it on, didn't skip one track, and this really bumped up the list for me. Favorite tracks on this, Alice in Hell, obviously. That is like one of the most classic thrash tracks ever. Burns Like a Buzzsaw Blade, Word Salad, just awesome. Just the production on it is awesome, but not overproduced where you think this is like really polished. Jeff Waters just drives this whole album just like a beast. I would show my vinyl, but it's actually up there, signed. Thank you. Randy Rampage sounds awesome. Although this is the only, I think he came back maybe on one album, but sounds awesome. It's clinical, but still stays loose. It's not got that kind of templated feel. It's not robotic. I found it's really layered. So this might be the first time I've ever really sat down and just concentrated and listened to everything that was going on. And it's layered, it's busy, but it's like every note has a reason to be there. That's what I felt like. I thought, you listen to the riff, you listen to the bass, you listen to the vocals, and there's so much other things going on in the background that you think, does that need to be there? And you come to the conclusion that it does, because it adds loads to the sound. What else have I got here? It's just a fantastically well executed album throughout. Yeah, this is just superb. So, Alice in Hell, Annihilator.
I missed a bit of what you said, but I agree with everything.
Because you knew it was all good.
Well, it's all good, because I really love the album. How thrashy is it though? Is I've got a feeling that this might be one that Mike tries to convince us isn't a thrash album. Because I know you said you had a
It's
few.
because he's all pissed off now.
But I really like it. It was my go-to Annihilator album until I heard Neverland. But yeah, I'm not going to add anything more. I thought you spoke about it very eloquently, Scott. There we go.
Yeah, it's I love it. It's a great album. When I first heard it, straight away I thought that guitarist knows exactly what he's doing. It's precise. You just know he's a good guitar player the minute the album kicks off. Randy Rampage, great vocals. Just that with the way he spits out, this isn't. It's just brilliant. Love this album. But I agree. I think Annihilate have gone on to be. Would you class them as a thrash band? I don't know. I mean, this has got the trappings of thrash, but is it an all-out thrash album? It definitely up for debate. But I love it. Absolutely love this album. Definitely up there for me as a great debut album.
I've got to be honest. I do own it. I haven't brought it down. I put that album on because I know it gets a lot of love in the VC, and I put it on, and the song "Alice in Hell" comes on, and I remember listening to that on Power Hour and stuff when I was a kid, and I just love it. And then when Burns Like a Buzzsaw Blade, and what's that one after it? Somebody help me.
Word Salad.
Pull your own records, for fuck's sake.
Yeah, Word Salad.
When I get the sort of 1-2 of those two songs, I go, fuck that. and knock it off. And I really can't comment on the album because I never get through it. It just doesn't grab me anywhere near as much as it would need to for me to be asked to listen to that all the way through. I think the first song's a thrash or metal classic, but it just after that, it just doesn't suck me in enough at all for me to bother with. So I couldn't really say, because I know for a fact I haven't spent anywhere near the time that you guys will have with it. That's about it.
Okay, so does it make our top 5, boys? Is there any of those 5 that it's going to?
I would shift Metallica, but
you'd shift Metallica over fucking Annihilator
every day of the week.
Jesus, a night. No.
Yeah.
Well, I can't vote for that. I vote that it doesn't go in.
Yeah, well, that's fine. That's just my opinion.
As much as I enjoy it, it doesn't budge any of those 5 for me, unfortunately, Scott.
That's all right.
It doesn't. I love the album, but not a contender for me.
What's the comments saying?
I think I showed them all already.
Yeah.
Right, let's move on then.
Right, is it me?
Fucking pricks.
Killing is my business. So back in the day when this album came out, the production really pissed me off, and for years and years I just never bothered revisiting it. And then when this Final Kill version came out, I was really interested because obviously I knew the songs a little bit. You can't help but pick up on them a bit over the last 30 years or whatever. And I bought this Final Kill version, and the week or 2 after I bought it, I just battered it every day. And when we were making these picks, I thought, do you know what? It might only get 5th, but I would vote for that to go in the top 5, because Mustaine, even though he went on to make better albums, he never sounded as vicious and sort of fired up as this. I prefer the 4 Horsemen to Mechanics. I think Mechanics is too fast. I don't really like the lyrics. I don't like that cover.
Boots are made for walking.
These boots. But the rest of it's so sort of ferocious, and I love how pissed off he was for this album and the energy and all that. So the rest of the songs make up for Mechanics and these boots, and it would be the 5th one, but I would vote for it to go in the top 5.
I've just it's really shifted gears for me. After listening to all these albums, it's really bumped up the ranks, I reckon. I mean, these boots are made for walking was a really strange choice, and it doesn't enhance the album at all. It's weird. For all, I mean, I think when it comes down to like these cover versions, I think when they pick these like bizarre songs, I just think why would you put that, especially on your debut album? Why would you use that
He's high on drugs.
as something to try and yeah, exactly. But it's technically awesome. It's now, I would say, my favourite of the big 4 debut albums. It's really well put together. It's really focused and controlled. It's not like you get some of these debut albums that they just go like they try and fire on all cylinders, and they just end up fucking going all over the place. it just seems like they've really like almost like pulled it back a little bit. They've controlled what they're doing, and it's come across really well. It's punky at times. It's got that kind of that kind of Motorhead feel as well. They've got these kind of like flawless tempo changes, which really kind of grab me as well. I enjoy it for what it is. I would say it's almost like kind of diet thrash compared to some of the other albums up there. It's like thrash, but like no added sugar. But it's certainly, I would certainly like a debate. Mike said that you quite fancy it in the top 5. I would quite like a wee debate about that to see where that would go, because I really enjoyed it.
Well, from my point of view, I haven't listened to this album for a long time, and I had a lot of I thought I was pretty emotionally attached to it, but listening back, I've forgotten how terrible it sounds production wise. I like it for what it is, but it's not a pleasant listen to the album.
But you're listening to the OG.
Yeah.
That put me off for years. That copy.
And I mean, these boots are terrible. And I would probably say, I don't know, I kind of want to say it's my least favorite of the big 4 now, but I think that's maybe a bit knee-jerk reaction based on the listening experience. I mean, I like Rattlehead and Mechanics, and I get what you're saying, Mike, about you've got the remastered reissue, but can we, if they have to clean it up to make it sound good, can it be a great debut album? Because it's not. I mean, this is the debut album as it sounds. If you have to remaster it and reissue it to make it sound good 30 years later, now obviously they've got better equipment and stuff to do it, but to me it can't be a contender because it sounds good 30 years later when they've chucked a load of money at it. This is what it was supposed to sound like, or maybe not. Maybe what it sounds like now is what it's supposed to have sounded like, but this is what it actually sounded like. And it pains me to say, but I really didn't enjoy the experience of listening to it again after a long time.
Yeah, I've not got the new revamped version of it. I've got this one, and I couldn't agree more what Andy said. I like that sort of aggression in it that you can sense from
I love being in control.
Mustaine. And I mean, Chris Poland, who's a great guitarist. I do like this, but I do find it. I almost find it like they put it out there because Dave was desperate to fucking get it out there to prove a point, and it's just not quite. I mean, these boots. Completely, I don't know what a band's thinking of when they're doing things like that. I just got no idea at all. But I like it. I enjoy it. But it's for me, it's my least listened to out of the big 4, their debut albums. I have to say. I mean, Peace Sells is such a good album. Rust in Peace. They're my go-tos every time, so that kind of gets left alone, really.
Well, just to interrupt on proceedings, are any of us going to pull out an album now that's going to conquer that top 5? Because if we're not, we could maybe see about organising the 5, or, which we haven't thought about, just because of which order we've had something in a top 5. You know what I mean? Like maybe, and one that's being kicked out now, does anyone want to rethink it? Is it not time to sort of hone in on the organising of it?
I've got one I maybe want to show, which from what I've heard so far, I don't think it would be necessarily in you guys' top 5 based on the what we've talked about so far, but I would certainly have it above one of the ones that is in the top 5 currently.
I think we should see it then.
Well, let's have a look then.
Yeah.
Holy Terror.
Terror
and Submission. And I would probably put this, I'll lay my cards on the table, above Forbidden. And that may just be mainly out of familiarization with the album. All of this is fast and furious thrash. Barking vocals also, but you know, he shrieks as well, and it's all mixed up with the vocals. I love it. Production is a little muddy, but then you said, Mike, Forbidden production isn't great anyway. Evil's Rising, Blood of the Saints, Mortal Fear, a 3 monster tracks. Even Guardians of the Netherworld, which is almost a little bit progressive, if you ask me. It's got Kurt Kilfelt from Agent Steel, who was on Skeptics Apocalypse, and he's kind of taken that sound and thrashed it up even more. And I think if this doesn't make the top 5, it's certainly worth a mention on stream amongst the company that we've had so far.
I've never heard it.
It is awesome. It's raw, and it's the word thrash. It sounds like that, you know. It is thrashy. It's raw. It's abrasive. But his vocal style, the vocal style is just fabulous. It doesn't penetrate the top 5 for me, but I do enjoy it. It's a proper rough diamond.
I've never heard it, so I am not going to comment. So it doesn't shift anything for me either.
Your ignorance is killing me, Scott.
What about the comments? Is anyone throwing any suggestions in?
What about that? What about that banger?
I thought that was going to come up.
No,
Creator has been mentioned.
Yeah.
No, well,
Yeah, too slow, Trav.
For me, that Zentrix album is awesome, but it's too derivative of Testament.
It is, yeah. When I'm looking at that top 5, it's so influenced by Metallica and Testament. But I love it.
It's at the arse end of the. It's at the arse end of the thrash scene, isn't it? 89.
Yeah. On an emotional level, absolutely love this.
Why is that?
Well,
don't.
I'm going to get here.
Scott, you've opened the can of worms.
Oh, don't. I'll shut it again. It's all right.
What were you holding up there, Scott?
Creator.
Yeah. To me, none of the German stuff was strong enough.
Didn't really qualify for me, really.
That's the same.
I brought it out just in case, but
I've got it in there. I mean, let me pull. I've got a few on the floor now here. Let me show them you, because they might be sort of honourable mentions, and I think they deserve a mention.
Also, let's see what some of the viewers think can go in the top 5 if you're going to show some stuff as well.
This is, when I listened to this back recently, it's not as aggressive as I remember it being the first time I ever listened to it. You know, because Pleasure to Kill, I think like this sounds more thrash than Pleasure to Kill. Pleasure to Kill's got more of a sort of a deathy edge to it.
Yeah,
I really enjoyed this. It's not going to get into the top 5, but it's an absolute ripper of an album.
It's got that kind of blackened vocal to it as well.
Yeah, Millie Petrosa sounds so different to like his later sort of vocal styles.
Right.
It's worth a mention, but it's not going to crack the top 5.
Before you show the next one, Mark, anyone, any other comments? Anyone that's watching, and got a great audience tonight. It's been brilliant with the comments. Apologies if I haven't kept up with them all, because I'm also trying to watch the video myself because it's good. Chuck them in and we'll chuck them up. Any bands that you feel that we have missed and you feel deserve to be in there, or even an honourable mention as Mark goes through his. Go on, Mark. Sacred Reich.
Sacred Reich, Ignorance. This is a great album. It's got that. It's the word mosh is almost like invented for this album.
Mm-hmm.
It's just got those
high energy, just like
driving rhythms. You know, Phil Ryan's voice sounds great on it. Performances are all round great. It's got some real furious little moments in there. It's got some nice little acoustic moments. For me, it's a real solid thrash album. Does it break into the top 5?
Nah,
not for me. No, I probably play this more than I play Metallica's Kill 'Em All.
Yeah,
but is it better? I don't know.
Yes.
You know,
but there's no way I'm gonna fucking shift you off Metallica. So I'm not even gonna fucking try.
Right, how about Dark Angel?
Oh,
fucking awful.
We Have Arrived. That's their debut. Yeah, talking of Dark Angel. Gene Hoglan's brilliant on this. His drum performance is ace. Don Doty or Don Doty, I think. I'm not sure I pronounce it. He's not as good a vocalist as the next one, Ron Reiner, who joined the band. But it's a solid album. It's certainly not going to get in my top 5 anyway. But it's a good album. It's a great logo. Look at that. You know, as a kid, when that came out, what year is that? 85. What metalhead wasn't going to buy that?
It's one you can draw, isn't it? On your exercise book at school. It's not too hard to draw.
That's going to be inside your school book, isn't it?
Yeah.
So here's another one which I thought to show, but I didn't. It would have already been an honourable mention anyway. Artillery. Completely forgot about them. I've only picked this up recently, so I'm still not massively familiar. I do love the album. Not a top 5 contender for me either, but a fantastic band, fantastic album.
Yeah, same with Corner. This has to be mentioned as well. I mean, it's not going to be up there with like Punishment for Decadence or anything like that, but because it's got that kind of it's got weak production, but it's got some absolutely awesome songs on it. So that has to be mentioned. But would it make my top 5? No, it wouldn't make it. But I still really enjoy it.
Destruction, anyone?
Destruction, yeah. It's
that's more kind of. I see that more as like blackened.
I just don't feel like any of the German stuff is ever going to come near the top 5.
It's not at that level, really, is it?
No.
Oh yeah, Watchtower.
Quite technical, isn't it?
Oh, Watchtower, yeah. I do like them. I didn't know that was their debut, but yeah, they're like super technical. Like before technical thrash was a thing, really. One of the pioneers, without a doubt.
So no sort of definite like I really want to back this to get in the top 5. Is there none of them left, do you think?
I've got one that I absolutely love, but I don't think you guys are going to help me put it in there. From Phoenix, Arizona, Atrophy.
Never heard it.
I've not heard that album, but I have heard. I've got some of their stuff on comps. They were on Stars on Thrash, were they not?
That's right. That's where I first discovered them through
and what song was that? Is that from that album?
Yeah, Chemical Dependency. The first.
Is that the one that's on Thrash?
Yeah, it's on there. this is just ace. It's thrash metal, but with the speed element to it. The vocals, you can hear what he's singing. The kind of barked out.
But what would you swap that out for, Mark?
For me, this I would probably take out Metallica.
Jesus Christ!
Yeah. Controversial.
I know it is, and it only because I just absolutely love this. And this is more of an emotional decision that I'm making now. Really, you know what I mean? If I sit down and think about it, when I've not had two big bottles of beer, and I think about the impact of the songs that are on the album, but when it comes to like playing it, this album, I've played it so many times, and it's one of those albums that's kind of under a lot of people's radar, and
right,
like
get it in then.
I like that about it, but you know, I'm not trying to say this is better than Kill 'Em All. By all means, when I'm looking at that list, though, I'm looking through what I would take out of there. I mean, I wouldn't, but if I was going to, that would be the one because I love the other four more. Simple as that. Well, let's show. Shall I
Is
show
this definitely not getting back in?
No, it's gone.
It's gone then.
Number 6,
Yeah.
man. It's good. It's a good place. Maybe.
Right.
Maybe Exodus was 6. That's well. So we've got our.
Right.
Oh,
no. As well. Nah.
He's still going. He's still going.
I've got a lot. We might as well while we're here, aren't we, boys? Just show these. That's a decent debut album, I think. It's very controversial because it's got that funk element to it, but some of the thrashier songs on this are quality.
I do love it. I think it's a brilliant album.
Yeah, it is. I love it.
Bit
But
too funky
I
for
see
me.
it more in the kind of groove metal kind of style.
Yeah. Boy Von's debut, War and Pain.
No.
But again, it kind of borders on Blackened.
Yeah, it's quite
Thrash,
it's quite raw.
You've got Whiplash.
Oh, look at that. How about that for timing?
Wow. Yeah, that's their debut. That's good. That's sort of real Fast and Furious thrash. What year is that from? God, I don't know what. That's an early one. That Power and Pain. We've got
Metallica, Scott.
Oh yeah, there we go, Scott. Now we're talking.
That is a phenomenal album.
I like it, but it's too Metallica. It can't possibly.
Yeah.
I know.
That's like UK thrash is so heavily influenced by the US. That as much as I love them, and I got a good collection of UK thrash now. A lot of it is too heavily influenced to be a classic.
I love that album. Yeah, it's so good, so good.
Has there been any albums? What one album have you discovered this week that you've went, you know what, that's really plummeted in my estimations compared to what I thought? For me, Heathen Breaking the Silence. That bored me to tears.
Yeah, I really enjoyed that.
I didn't even pick that one out.
I didn't.
I thought it was good.
I have got it, but I'll have to have a listen to that now.
The one that dropped the most for me was probably Megadeth, because I held it in quite high esteem based on, it's one of the big four, and I just hadn't heard it for years, and just the listening to all of these back to back and seeing which ones had really good production, which had good sound, which everything. That one kind of it dropped because I was listening to all these great debut albums and it just didn't grip me like I thought it would.
I think. Go on, sorry, Scott.
Sorry, for me, honestly, it was Kill 'Em All. See, listening to all these back to back, that was the one that really disappointed me.
I didn't hold it as high esteem, but as I say, killing is my business. did it less.
Yeah, it's funny, isn't it? Because when I listened to Kill 'Em All, it kind of rekindled when I just thought this album is just full of great tunes. And for me, it was Fistful of Metal and Killing Is My Business. Listen to those. I just thought to myself, considering they're two of the debuts from the Big Four, as much as I do enjoy them, but I don't feel like they're essential to me anymore. I don't feel like I need to listen to those. For my go-to albums from
The Big
Anthrax.
Four was just a clever marketing ploy, though, wasn't it? It wasn't anything that was.
Yeah.
It wasn't because they were necessarily the best. It was.
Yeah.
There's a question I'd like to ask to Mike. You were you made a comment, obviously within our chat during the week, saying there were some albums you thought that you didn't really need anymore.
Heathen was one of them.
Yeah.
To be honest, Forbidden was one of them.
You are off your fucking meds.
I think Twisted into Form sends fucking Forbidden Evil home on a stretcher.
Well, there's another video
madness
for you, isn't it? The best second, the top 5 of the second album.
And there was.
I think we should do that.
Yeah.
There was. What else was there? There was. I did come away with a firm feeling that Flotsam and Jetsam wasn't a thrash album, where it was more a speed metal album. To be honest, like Agent Steel. I think I actually said the same to myself about Heathen. That doesn't sound like a thrash album, more a speed metal album as well. But and I listened to Skeptic's Apocalypse as well, but I know that would probably be seen by more people as a speed metal album, so I didn't include it. And I listened to that as well. And I don't know whether, because they've all been very similar albums, apart from Forbidden, they've all been similar albums that I felt the same about. And I wonder if I just wasn't in that frame of mind. But I remember thinking about Agent Steel. Christ, I paid quite good money for this, and I'm not sure I cared about it anymore.
So do you like Skeptic's Apocalypse then?
I used to.
Try
I
Holy.
listen to it again, and the song that jumps out is that what's that song with the number in it?
Yeah, which number? Is it bigger than 10? Less than 10?
No, it's that. Hang on. It's
Any number.
$199,000 gone.
Oh,
Just rolls off the tongue, doesn't it?
That's a catchy one.
That song, that 199,000 gone, is extremely catchy, and that was way out there for me on that album. I thought that's brilliant, but I really don't know if I care about the rest of it.
Try Holy Terror, Mike. I think it's a better version of Agent Steel.
What about that Monkey?
Awesome, but again, I mean, I like Tankard and Sodom and Destruction are very hit and miss with me, but I don't know. It's very punk influenced Zombie Attack.
This is another one that's very, very speed metal, sort of punk infused.
And I love it, but I didn't pull it out because I just thought, well, that's never getting top 5. That wouldn't get top 10 for me.
No,
it would be in the top 25. But so what are we doing with the order?
Are we ready to
Yes.
rank?
Why don't we get to the top 5?
It's tomorrow already. So, what do we think? Which do we want to go? Which is our best to worst, or do we go?
We've got to go from 5th up to 1st. Got to go 5th.
I would go 5th.
So should we each have a vote of what we think our 5th is, and then?
Okay.
Yeah, go on then.
Number 5 then. Andy, top to bottom.
Number 5 for me would be Forbidden in this list. Scott.
Metallica.
Mike,
Forbidden.
Mark.
Metallica.
Yes, Mark.
You've got,
Come on.
we've got 2 votes for Forbidden and 2 votes for Metallica, right? Let's put it to now.
Okay.
People watching, right?
Don't let me and Mark down. Come
Let
on.
us know, and I'm probably going to take maybe the first
No.
5, which is between Forbidden and Metallica. Which is your favorite?
What's going to be
Forbidden
5?
is miles better.
What's going to be 5? Oh,
Fucking miles better.
this is going to be very interesting. We've got the basis for a brilliant little quiz show here.
So far, we have 1 vote for Metallica at 5, and 1 vote for Forbidden at 5.
Oh,
Come on.
Come
So,
on, you.
Jesus.
This is just who do you think is better, Metallica or Forbidden?
At number 5, we're voting for who is at number 5.
2 for Metallica, 1 for Forbidden.
Come on. Yes. Come on.
2 for Metallica. What's that? 3, 2 Metallica, 3,
That's
3, 4,
Done.
3.
5 Metallica.
5 Metallica.
Come on, it's looking to me like it's Metallica 5th, surely.
Yeah. Metallica's down there. Yeah.
Well,
Right. Shift
Come on,
it.
Darcy.
Come on.
Where's Darcy? Get Darcy
Shift it.
involved.
Shift it.
That's not the question, Darcy.
Right. Come on. That's it. It's done.
Metallica.
So
is that it, boys? Metallica at 5.
Yeah.
Looks like it.
The people have
Hold on.
spoken.
Okay.
Do a quick update.
Brilliant.
This is number 6. Just to make Mike shake his head even more.
Can't believe Sabbath's gone.
I know, yeah. It's tough. It's a real tough one, isn't it, though?
I fucking knew Forbidden Evil would be there, and I detest it.
Right, so
But you're not right in the head.
we've got Metallica and Forbidden Evil at 5 and 4.
Number 4 for me is Death Angel.
But surely if number 5 was between Forbidden and Metallica, then Forbidden has got to come in at number 4.
No, it's now between Forbidden and Death Angel.
Why?
Because that's just the way it goes.
Hold on. So Forbidden and Metallica were between the last.
No, you made it the last.
We've decided Metallica's 5th. Now us 4 have got to vote for who's 4th.
Yeah. So who goes 4th?
Right. Who goes 4th? For me, Forbidden.
For
me,
Mike, it's Forbidden, yeah.
For me, Death Angel.
And
Forbidden.
for me, it's Death Angel again.
Okay.
So this needs to go out to the public again.
Public again.
Just
Listen,
to make it clear.
this is how we knew it was going to go. So we've got to do this.
So just to make it clear for those that are going to type something into the comments, what is your number 4?
Yes.
Is it Death Angel or Forbidden? Because before we had people, I wasn't sure if they're saying one or the other.
And do we need a 5th member of Contacting Blood to sort this out?
Yeah.
Oh, come
the
on.
The audience are the 5th member.
Absolutely right. Yes, you're quite right.
1 for Forbidden.
Yeah.
1.
Oh, we've got this 1-1.
Come on.
Jesus, they're going too fast now.
This is quite exciting. Yes.
Is that 2-1?
Right, we need one more. Oh,
2-2.
right, next one goes. Next one. Oh!
So that's
You're unsubscribed.
That's the first 5 in, so it's Forbidden.
It is.
Daniel.
Oh.
Which is kind of what I said at the top of this. So we could have saved ourselves 2 minutes and just...
No.
Oh.
If you're going to do it right.
Number 3. Mark, you first now. Number 3.
Death Angel.
Right.
Death Angel.
Scott.
Death Angel.
Oh, there you go. It's decided.
4 votes for Death Angel, so we don't have to worry about that. So now it's between Violence and a Testament for number 1. Who's going to stick their neck out first?
Testament.
Are we going for who's top? Who we want to vote as first now?
Well, if we vote for who's second, we also vote for who's first, don't we?
Yeah.
So,
All right.
So,
well,
who do you want at the top?
Testament at the top.
Testament.
Oh.
I'm going Violence.
Do you know what? To make this, as we've gone on, and I am really, really torn between these two, but I'm going to say Violence.
You're like the
For me-
Simon Cowell of.
I'm not
Yeah.
trying to be awkward. I'm
Yeah.
really not trying to be awkward, but I think if you had to listen to one out of Violence and Testament for the rest of your life, I'd much rather listen to Violence.
I think I would too. I think I would, but it's close.
It is close, but it is close. But Violence for me is definitely above Testament. So let's see what comes in.
So we're drawing, aren't we, here between us?
Yeah.
Okay. So from
It's all depending on our 5th member.
So from now, let's take the.
I would let this run a little bit longer.
Yeah. Testament number 1.
Yeah, but ignore that one.
Testament number 1.
Arcee is full of shite.
Wow.
Yeah, but that's just Andy putting up what he wants.
No, it's
No, I mean, you can.
The whitewash.
yeah.
I think it's a whitewash.
It is looking like a whitewash there, isn't it?
So give me a second.
Who are we to argue?
No, can't argue with that then.
Yeah.
1 second. We'll just. I wish I could just update this.
You've done a
Alright.
splendid job, Andy. You've done a splendid.
So when you got your votes, sorry, when you picked your 5, right? Let's see what you got right in the order you got them right.
All right,
That's a
okay.
good one. That's a good one. Hold on. Let me just stick it
So
up.
with me, my order was Testament as number 1, so that's 1 right. I got Metallica as number 2, Sabbath as number 3, Violence as number 4, and Megadeth as number 5. So I got 3 out of 5, but only 1 in the right order. But 3 out of 5 is not bad.
No, it's not.
So mine would have been the first 2, then Exodus. Then this is where I kind of got.
You want to just big us up again, Andy?
Well,
You want to just big us up again?
big you up again.
Well, just
No.
all of us as a foursome.
All right, yeah, okay, cool. Yeah, so I was the top couple. I am very happy with, but I would have had Exodus in there for sure. Metallica, I was on the fence, so that would have been my 5. Exodus my number 4, and God, I really it's too hard. This I need to have a lie down.
I'm just trying to decide right now.
I'm trying to see if I've got all mine in. Yeah.
Right, okay. I would go number 5, Testament. Number 4, Doomsday. Number 3, Death Angel.
Oh, Death Angel, yeah.
Number 2, Violence. Number 1, Forbidden.
I don't even know what I've done. I've got that many fucking CDs here.
And that is how I ranked them, and that is how I was happy to just go right. That is how
Sabbath
I like
number
them.
1, yes.
There's a lot of love for
Jesus Christ.
Do you know one
Somebody likes
album
English thrash.
I listened to this week? It would
Yes.
never make the top 5, but
I
did
love that Desecrator
metal.
album.
Carnage City State Mosh Patrol.
This was my 5, and initially
Where are Death Wish from?
when I first thought about it, before I even started listening and playing things, my top 5 was Zentrix at number 5, Death Angel number 4, Testament number 3, and can you guess my number 1?
Get in, Mark.
That was it. That
Oh,
was
you're
my
going to
5.
go to Zentrix again.
So 2 of yous were completely wrong with your number 1, eh?
Yeah.
No, we were actually everybody else was wrong.
Are you not taking on board? Are you not taking on board anything?
That's just the easy choice.
What would be the right choice?
No, it's cliche.
Yeah.
Well, it's proven there. It's been put out there. That is officially.
Officially, yeah.
You're a bunch of sheep.
This
It's not a bad
official.
top 5. That I'm just
Top thrash debuts of all time.
That is it.
And none of us are happy about it.
No, this was the fucking worst idea ever.
No, I made up just after the slating that Forbidden got off mic. I'm fucking buzzing that Forbidden stayed in there.
Yeah, and although I really like Sabbath, I'm glad that Sabbath got fucked right out of the top 5. Just because Mike hated Forbidden so much.
I'm not
And
happy about Exodus.
And
not
it's
being
so
in there.
fucking class.
That's wrong. That's
Maybe
wrong. I feel like I need to call Gary after this. I
No,
apologize.
to be fair, Mike, you got Sabbath chucked out. Andy, you got Exodus chucked out. I got Doomsday for the Deceiver chucked out. Mark?
Well, Zentrix was never getting in.
No, Zentrix was never getting in. I do understand that, but it was still in mine. And I realised that as this program was going on, I thought, yeah, it's not got in there because that top 5 that got strong pretty quick, didn't it?
It did.
We
all actually went against our own advice where before we planned, we were kind of obviously talking about this video, and we thought, right, we'll not go gung ho right at the start, but we kind of went fucking gung ho right at the start.
Bang, kill them all, bang.
Yeah.
Probably by blood, bang, yeah, straight away.
Does anybody
Did
like
I not
violence?
say we should milk the public here? Come on.
Yeah.
Honestly.
I think we just got excited, you know.
Well, to be fair, I took the reins and kind of put a wee average thing in there just to kind of slow us down a little bit.
Yeah, you did well, Marty. Yeah, I need to get that Coroner debut. I've not got that. It's one album I don't own.
Yeah,
I need to.
See, for me, Coroner done better. Everything was better than that debut album for Coroner. Even the demo. I find that RIP album kind of like, you know, I don't know.
Yeah, I've not heard it enough. I do need to get that. It's on my want list. They've re-released them, though, haven't they? Reissued them.
Yeah.
It's Century Media.
I'm slowly picking them all up on vinyl. I've just literally just got Grin on vinyl.
There's so many albums we didn't mention, though, isn't there? You know what I mean?
Oh, there is. Definitely. Acid Rain we never mentioned.
I tell you what,
although you'd never put that up there, but anyway, but
yeah, there's quite a
Coronaga.
Coronaga.
I think Andy's right, really. I wouldn't the only one I would have backed from the UK would have been Sabbath, because that's the only one I believe were doing something genuinely different. Whereas the word just sort of derivative of what the Yanks were already doing.
Tortoise Corpse.
I forgot to. This should have been number. Like, let's do it all over again. Because Toto's Corpse doesn't come in at number 1.
What do you think would be a good idea to do next? Glam metal albums, standard heavy metal albums, or the second albums from the thrash?
We should definitely do second, but it doesn't have to be the next one we do.
I think the next one should be standard metal albums. That could cause a severe shitstorm in the chat. And between us 4.
So when you say standard heavy metal, is that traditional heavy metal?
Traditional metal.
Metal that doesn't tend to go too far into
No, it's not classed as any kind of subgenre. It's heavy metal.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, it's not my special subject.
No, it's not mine either.
But I do.
Well, that's what can make it interesting.
I do have that. Yeah. We'll have to. We'll do that as long as we can do grindcore after that. So I want Andy fully involved.
I'll get my OG.
I might be washing my hair off right now.
You've got some carcass.
A best of. It's not even a debut album, is it?
No, I'm up for doing that. Yeah, and well, see what. Please leave in the comments, even if it's after this live stream. Leave in the comments what you'd maybe like to see us do.
Yeah, in fact, just right now, what do you want us to do?
And we'll do it.
Or even if you enjoyed this video, is this like a good format for a video?
Yeah,
because we enjoyed it.
I've really enjoyed it, and do you know what I've really enjoyed about it? And we were talking about it before. Is the reconnecting with the albums for the 4 of us doing our homework. You know, a little bit. So that we don't come across like we don't know what we're talking about, you know.
I thought it was really interesting. I mean, obviously we were talking about it through the week, like day after day, just saying this is a really good exercise because it's not something you would naturally do.
No,
you wouldn't just sit and listen to all these albums back to back. You would maybe put on Kill 'Em All. Oh, that's pretty good. And then put on some Iron Maiden, and then put on some Judas Priest, and then put on some hair metal. So going through all these as one kind of subject was awesome.
Yeah, it's been great. I mean, I tend to play new albums that I've got in all the time. You know, there's a constant stream of new albums. So to go back to ones that have been in my collection since I was, 18, 19 or whatever, it's brilliant. Yeah.
Right. Okay, we're coming up on 3 hours. Should we call it a day here, guys? And one more.
Thanks very much for watching, guys and gals out there.
You've been a fantastic.
Hopefully, you actually enjoyed this as much as we did because we thought it was awesome.
I had a blast. Really cool.
Nice one. Thanks for watching, guys. Appreciate it.
All right, everyone, give us your horns. Cheers, everyone.
See you later.
Take care.